Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Match day. Who's excited? Who's excited for defeat number 21? I just jest, of course. Listen, we are 5 days to a Europa League final, but BAU suggests Tottenham still have to perform in Premier League games. You can't just rock up, get battered, and then say, "Oh, it doesn't matter, we're in a Europa League final." That's not how elite sport works. That's not how player preparation works. So, what are Tottenham going to do today? I've seen, oh, look at look at this. It is bright. I've seen all sorts of reports. Porro's going to play in the 10. Odebert might play in the 10 tonight. Some might play in the 10 tonight. All of this, trying all these things out, ready for Bilbao. We'll see. All I know is we're going to Aston Villa, who have not, I think it's, somebody might tell me I'm wrong. I think is it 20 or 21 games unbeaten at Villa Park. They need to win to get Champions League football. I've got a feeling it's going to be really, really horrible tonight. I've gone for 4-1 to Aston Villa. I know I might call me negative. Sure, this will get clipped up. Savva's a terrible fan. Sure, but I just looked how we played against Wolves, Forest, Crystal Palace, West Ham, and unfortunately, it's tough watching us right now. Good morning, Andy. Somewhat, my friend, somewhat. Who cares who plays where? The biggest issue I've got today, guys and girls, just between me and you, is none of my Sky boxes in my house are working. I literally came in here at 5 to 10. I always do it 5 to 10. Turn on the Sky box in this room, which is obviously where I should do my streaming. And it says, your Sky Q Mini box has not been able to connect to the activation server. Brilliant. So I go downstairs. Let's try the other two. Got one in the back room, one in the front room. Both of them, we cannot connect to an activation server. Now, as a streamer, this is particularly worrying because I need the Sky to be able to watch the games. So, that is what I will be doing. When I finish here, I will be on the phone to Sky saying, oi, what's the activation server and why ain't it working, mate? That's what I'll be doing. Do you have active broadband? I'm going to say yes. And then there may be a temporary issue with the server. Superb. Mark, absolutely. Ange just sabotaged my stream. Good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning indeed. Listen, it is strange, isn't it? Because you know, it is match day. And normally on match days, there's a buzz, there's a feel, there's a, there's something going on. But at the moment, it's really difficult to get excited for Spurs games, isn't it? It's really tough. I do my best. I try and be as uplifting as possible during the watch-alongs. And then within 5 minutes, Spurs are 1-0 down. And it's kind of like, oh, bloody hell, Tottenham have messed up again. But listen, Villa Park, it's a good test. Listen, we can't be saying things, right? Hang on, what is going on with is my Wi-Fi working? Why is nothing working at the moment in my house? What's going on? I can't upload screenshots. What is going on here? An error occurred. Wait a moment and try. I don't want to wait a moment and try again. 1 second. I don't want to wait a moment and try again. Let's do this. Add an overlay. Boom, boom, boom. Come on. One of those days where everything is going wrong. Nothing's working. Technology hates me. And all I'm getting is an error message. All I'm getting is an error message. Let's try downloading it again. Boom. Sorry, there's something I wanted to show you all in a minute. And add an overlay. Let's try that one. Is that going to work? No, nothing is working in my house today. As long as you guys can see me and you can hear me, I suppose that's what counts. Let's have a look. Let's do a poll. Let's see how many goals. Here we go. How many goals will Spurs concede tonight? I know, very negative, but it's where I'm at with Tottenham. It'd probably really help if I could spell concede. Concede tonight. Let's go with 0 is the first option. 1, add option. 2 to 3. And then one more option. 4 plus. Stop poll. There we go. There's the poll in the chat. Good morning to each and every one of you. Let me see who's in the chat, shall we? Good morning to Vinny Rowley. Tony Rodriguez, Henry Thong TV. Big up to my man, Atavatron Wembley 1. Good morning to you. Me neither. Hopefully 2 more games and then he's gone. Hopefully 2 more games. Marianne, big up to you. Sevilla 3-0 against Spurs. Big up, Marios. 5 days to go. Hello, mate. Hope you're well. Rob Welsh said, so glad you called out the ceiling word last night. So bored of it. This is normally what young fans do. Young fans now think they know every player's ceiling. It just makes me laugh. Like, his ceiling is there, but his ceiling is there. How on earth do you know? How on earth does any of us sit here now going, Archie Gray, his ceiling's boom. Gray, his ceiling's boom. How does anyone know? We don't know them. We don't see them train. Spursy Rob, big up to you, and lots of comments from you there. And he's saying he's captain Morgan Rogers. Ali Garcia, good morning to you, Ali. Hope you're well. Costa del Spurs is in the house. Richest man. Good morning to Mark. Good morning to Andy Carmichael. Costa del Spurs. I'm not getting your notifications anymore from YouTube. I don't know. YouTube is a world of its own. YouTube is a world of its own. Andy said, I can't see us scoring tonight. I'm guessing not the final. Rob Welsh said, Sky announced this morning they're having major issues, something like 30,000 boxes affected. Is this true? Is this true? Oh, that might work. Are Sky boxes down today? It says Oscar boxes. No, that's not what I said, was it? I said, are Sky boxes down today? No. Boxes, Jesus Christ, Savva. Are Sky boxes down? Are Sky boxes down? Is Sky box down? Let's have a look. Sky TV is down. More than 30,000 people report issues. I am one of the 30,000 people that doesn't have Sky. And if I don't have it for tonight, I'm just going to have to pretend I'm watching Spurs. Big up. Listen, I'm going to bring Manny on. And Manny, good morning, sir. You're on mute before you start trying to talk, just so you know.
Morning, Savva. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I've seen your face floating around some of the YouTube channels this week, and I thought,
I know.
I like that guy. I thought, I like him. I don't like his opinion, but you know what? Let's get him on. How are you, sir?
I know. I started. I went on a show on one of the channels last week after our game against Bordeaux Glimt. That was the first ever calling show I was ever on. Then after that, I've literally been asked to come on a few different streams, and I've decided to create my YouTube channel hopefully soon.
Lovely. Well, if you need any help with the YouTube channel, you just let me know. And I'll assure you right now, I'm not this horrible asshole that lots of the YouTubers pretend I am, just because I don't like a manager. Manny, good morning. Listen, hopefully you're not being affected by Sky. I'm just hoping it works by the time Aston Villa Spurs is on tonight. But anyway, hang on, are we on Sky tonight or is it BT?
Should be Sky.
Is it Sky?
I would have thought. Let me just check.
Never mind. I'm sure we'll get it somehow. If not, we've got the old Peacock stream. Lumen,
Right,
thank you.
Sky. Definitely.
Thank you for letting me know, Lumen, that I was a young fan once. Yes, I was. I was a young fan once, and now I'm an old fan. That's just how life works. Manny, welcome to you. First time on the channel. How are you? Saw you were on with Mr. Box Office last night, which is always a fun experience, isn't it? Streaming
incredible experience. Difference of opinions, obviously. Different. Yeah. Very, very different opinions, but always good, man. Big up, Box Office.
I love him so much. He cracks me up. And I will never, ever let him live down his opinion, which was Erling Haaland is just a below average John Carew, is what he said about Erling Haaland when he came to the Premier League. Yeah. And 100, was it 105 goals in 105 games later? Yeah.
Crazy.
Manny, let's talk some Tottenham Hotspur. By the way, you lot in the chat, don't be frauds. Smash that like button. Come on, that's what we do over here. We've got 54 likes. Come on, let's not do that. Good morning to each and every one of you, especially the members. Good morning to Spotlight on Spur. Welcome, Luke. Hope you're doing well, my man. And as always, please go and subscribe to every Spurs YouTube channel. Doesn't matter if you agree with them or not. Show some love. They're creating content for you. Difference of opinions are allowed. Doesn't matter how heated it gets. They're allowed. Manny, So Tottenham Hotspur, thank God we've only got 2 league games to go.
I'm telling you, it's been a season, man.
Yeah. I'll tell you what then, start with that. When you say it's been a season, expand. What do you mean by that?
It's crazy because obviously if we literally go back to season 1, lost Harry Kane, finished 5th, finished the season quite badly, to be fair. I think we lost like 7 games in a row or something stupid like that. And I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Summer's come in. Let's reset. 5th position was not bad considering, because I was watching a lot of content creators saying Kane is gone, finishing 9th, 10th, 11th. So I was thinking, right, let's reset now. Manager in, I absolutely love the guy. Let's have a go at this at the cups, have a go of finishing in the top 4, and then here we are. I think 20 losses later.
Do you know what I've noticed?
Yeah,
anybody who is either Ange or sympathizes with Ange can't talk about Ange's era without mentioning Harry Kane. Like no one can go, well, this or that. It's but he did lose Harry Kane. I'm going to throw this at you straight away.
Yeah,
Thomas Frank lost Ivan Toney in the summer, and they're better this season. Why?
I mean, have they got the amount of injuries that we have? Obviously, listen. I don't. First and foremost, right? Let me just give this caveat, right? So,
God.
I like Ange as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a blindly, infatuated, fully Ange, irrespective of what, right? So let me just give the caveat to the to the chat first and foremost. I every single time I listen to anybody who's Ange out, I always say, if this guy gets sacked today, if this guy gets sacked tomorrow, if this guy gets sacked after the final, whether we win or lose, you cannot complain, because football is a results business.
Sure.
Whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether Ange likes it or not, and I think he actually knows. He's been in the game long enough to know that. However, from my perspective, whenever I'm talking about Ange, a lot of times, especially when it comes to the Harry Kane point that you just made, the reason why I make that point is because I look back at Mourinho, I look back at Conte, I look back at all these managers, and every single time I look at the style of play that we used to play at the time, and I'm thinking, half the games that you won, you wouldn't have won had it not been for an individual masterclass of Harry Kane or an individual masterclass of Son.
Sure. I mean, listen, by the way, let me caveat this again. I'm not with you, Manny, but with Ghosted, not comparing Ivan Toney to Harry Kane, but for Brentford, he was their Harry Kane. He was their top goal scorer. He was their guy that over the 3 or 4 or 5 seasons he played there got 20 plus goals. So it's not about Kane versus Toney. I say the same with Fulham when they lost Mitrovic. Mitrovic isn't Harry Kane, but he was Fulham's top goal scorer. And it's like Leicester City losing Jamie Vardy. He's been their top goal scorer for, it feels like 15 seasons. But, that's the point I'm making, Ghosted. It's not Kane versus Toney, of course.
That's a good point, though, Savva. But that is the actual point, is the fact that obviously having lost him, he did manage to, because bear in mind, we did not buy Solanke in that transfer window, right? We had Richie during that time, and he ended up being injured for majority of that season anyway. Yeah. And Ange did, just like Thomas Frank, just like Fulham, he did adjust enough to be able to at least maintain the level that we were. I say we were at. We finished 8th the season before. The level that we should have been at in that season, if we're obviously solely talking about that season. The end of the season was still not good enough, bearing in mind, because I think he lost Van de Ven, and ended up capitulating at nearly every single game, and ended up switching it in the game that majority of Spurs fans didn't even want to win, which was the City game, by the way. But,
when you say majority of Spurs fans, I feel like it's a real minority that didn't. I always hear people out there saying, "Oh, Savva wanted to lose to City," and it's like, I never People just assume because I'm Ange out that I want Spurs to lose games of football, and it's the opposite. I want him out because I want to win games. Look, what I would say about listen, I think there's a lot of merit to what you say, by the way, in terms of Conte and Jose teams with Kane carrying. But the caveat to that would surely be that the squads that Conte and Jose had weren't as good as the squad we've got now.
100%.
And I think this is where, we could always meet in the middle with opinions.
100%,
I think it's some give or take.
I agree with that.
What I would say is look, when we look at Ange's era, for me, I know I've seen you speaking about this in the last couple of days, and I think you are quite fair with it. It's not... listen, yes, injuries affect teams. Yes, confidence affects teams. Yes, this, that, the other. I think the problem for me is that we've seen him tweak and adapt when his job is on the line in Europe. And I know I've seen you say this as well. The frustrating thing for me is if he acknowledges that his gung-ho, chaotic style of football isn't going to see him through the Europa League, why is it as soon as we get back to Spurs training ground, ready for a game in the Premier League, we go, right, scrap what we've done in Europe. We're going to go back to this two at the back, inverted, wide open. For me, that shows that you're not learning. And in life, Manny, if you're not learning, you're going to come unstuck, right?
I think, 100%. I think that is, and I said the same thing to Box Office yesterday. I think that's the biggest and most important question, because when I look at our game against Bodo, the first, even if I go back to Frankfurt, right? First leg against Frankfurt, we conceded within 5 minutes, and then we pushed up, got the equalizer, and kept pushing, right? It was a home game. Then we went away, the first, 30 minutes, whatever it was a bit of a mixed bag of tactics. We got the goal and we were like, right, you know what? Let's fall back, pack our bags up, sit with the bus, and you break us down because you need a goal. Then we go to Bodo, exactly the same. First leg, we actually conceded quite a lot of possession in the first leg, to be completely honest. However, we did try and create as many chances as possible. And then second leg, we were like, right, we've got our 2-goal advantage. You break us down. I think the biggest question for Ange is the fact that you then go to the Palace, fast forward to Palace, which is just a few days after Bodo, with your squad players, right, that are not your first team. And you're like, why have you gone back to let's be open? I don't know whether it's because we're at home. Let's concede a lot of space. Let's try and press high with players that we know cannot run back. I think that's the biggest question that he would have to answer. Unfortunately, I have no answer for that question. Unfortunately,
and look, that's my frustration. Look, as I said, we can look at injuries, but when you actually break it down, it has been really poor for about 19 months. And Manny, I'm hoping you've seen my show before. If you haven't,
I followed you for a while, mate.
I'll show you this. This is the moment I realized that he was a dreadful manager. I'll say this, that this was the moment I realized, what on earth are you doing, mate? And it was from that moment that I was like, I want to see what you do now. Now that we've had the defeat and a few injuries, what are you going to do? He then followed that up the very next game against Wolves with a very baffling lineup and a really terrible performance. Then all I heard from people was, well, wait till his players come back. And this was last season.
Yeah.
And his players came back in the January, and Spurs had a terrible second half of the season. Then all I heard, Manny, was, watch what he does in his second season. He tweaks, he adapts, he does this. And then we were terrible at the we lost 5 of our first 12 at the beginning of this season.
But that is where I caveat a little bit, Savva. I think that's where I wouldn't say because in the end, football is a results business, right?
Sure.
100%. We lost 5 games, but I genuinely do think that people somewhat forget those first 10, 11 games, right, that we had, right, where we had those 5 losses. Now, let me address the losses first, right? So we lost to Newcastle, we lost to Ipswich, We lost to Palace away 1-0, I believe. I can't remember the other two losses that we had.
What would it help if I brought that up for you? So if you look, if you see the second where there's the break in the middle of the page, so you can see the first game of the season was Leicester. Sorry, I know it's a bit small.
That's it. No, that's perfect.
This is every result, Manny, since that Chelsea defeat. This is every result.
That's it. So that this is perfect, right? So Newcastle, Arsenal, Brighton, and Palace, and then Ipswich, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going all the way down to line 50, which is Manchester City. Yeah. So addressing the losses, Ipswich, absolutely dreadful, not good enough. I mean, would you put a lot of the blame on the players not being galvanized? Would you say, other people will say, why would a manager like Ange not galvanize the players? I fully accept that, but absolutely what we both agree on is the fact that display was absolutely unacceptable, right? Palace 1-0 away, absolutely unacceptable. Arsenal, I actually think we played okay, but we were very naive as a team.
I agree.
Because all Arsenal did was, listen, you love to have the ball. We are going to set up in a bank of 10 players behind the ball. You're not going to break us down. And then once we get a set piece, that's it. We've got it. And that, in my opinion, is naivety from Ange, right? Mm. And then we look at Brighton again. To me, I understand when people will blame the manager, but being 2-0 up as players, have some guts, have some underbelly, right?
Okay. So let me caveat this, right? Yes, Brighton. By the way, listen, as much as I dislike this manager, Manny, I'm not the sort of fan that turns around and goes, oh my God, the players are amazing. They are blameless.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely not. But again, it's about managing games. It's about seeing games out. It's about being proactive in games as a manager to see something's not working. Now, let's go back to that Brighton game. Mm-hmm. This Brighton game for me, bearing in mind I wanted him out 19 months ago, right? But this Brighton game this season for me was such a pivotal moment for so many reasons on and off the pitch. Now, we go into that Brighton game. Let's just double check. Let's make sure I've got this information right. So we go into that Brighton game off the back of 2 wins against Brentford and Man United, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going in off the back of those 2 games, knowing that you've got West Ham at home after the Brighton game, and you're thinking, hang on, get the win v Brighton. You're now 3 in a row. You're going to beat West Ham. Now suddenly things could snowball. Yep. So you go 2-0 up, and I thought it was a really good first half performance. It was a very, I think I'll go as far to say probably one of our best.
It was very professional
this season, right? But what you noticed in the last 15 minutes of the first half, Brighton had just started to switch the play to the left a lot to Matoma. Yeah. And Spurs, we all know, as good as... Listen, Pedro Porro for me is absolutely brilliant going this way, terrible going this way.
That way, it's a trend problem, isn't it?
Matoma just started to have the beating of him in that first half, and he whipped a few balls in front of our goal, which they couldn't capitalise on. Now, they started the second half in exactly the same way. Matoma just kept getting the ball. And what frustrates me about it, Manny, is top coaches would have identified that and gone, right, Matoma's their man. He's the danger. Right, Porro, you drop 10 yards. Whoever's, I think it was Brennan Johnson, but whoever's in front of him, right, you drop 10 yards and you help him out, right? And if not, if you can't do it, Brennan Johnson, right, Papa Sarr, you pull over to the right. I want you to be almost an inside right winger that doubles up on Matoma. We didn't do it. Yeah. He destroyed us.
Yeah.
And then you're 2-1. You're winning 2-1. And you're thinking, okay, Ange, make a change. He didn't. You're 2-2. Ange, they've done it twice now. Ange, 3-2. Ange, you've got to make a change. And then what was pivotal for me, Manny, was when he came out after the game and said, we didn't deserve anything from the game, or whatever it was he said. We didn't deserve anything. That's why I didn't make a substitution. It would have been an undeserved point. That, for me, I think lost him a lot of credibility with thousands of fans that went, hang on, literally your job, whether you're shit or brilliant, Manny, your job is to win points for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
That, for me, I think switched a lot of people that went, What are we? Oh, is this a vanity project, or are you trying to win games for Tottenham Hotspur? And that, I don't know. I've spoken a lot there, but did you understand what I mean?
No. I fully agree with you. And even sorry, again, there's one point that I've always agreed with certain people, especially when it comes to the injuries. That would have been the exact right point to have brought in Dragishin, got us in with a 3 at the back, right, and then had Porro and Udogi not isolated, which is what he did against, I think, Boydo or. But going back to the point that you were making, I absolutely agree with you with regards to it being pivotal. The reason why I'm saying this, and going back to the point that I was making, is that at that time, even though there were certain losses that we had received, our underlying metrics were actually very, very good. So from memory, what we were second on expected goals, right? XG. We were first on goals scored. We were fifth, just behind Arsenal on expected goals against. We were fourth lowest teams of in relation to goals conceded. So we were on a momentum trajectory, right? And that game literally just absolutely deflated us. And then we had a whole lot of, the other strings of games that came after, which then obviously didn't help the whole situation. And if I'm putting myself in Ange's mind, going back to the point that you were making about, after the 19 games in his first season, and the second half of the season being as horrendous as it was, which I fully agree with you, by the way. I genuinely think so. When we came out of that season saying a majority of the talk was around the fact that, one, we needed a set piece coach because we were getting killed on set pieces, right?
True. Yep.
And two, we're getting hit on transition constantly, right? So we then started the season with those underlying metrics, and actually, I think up until game week 12 or game week 11, we had conceded, I think, 2 set pieces or 1 set piece. So just thinking about what he would have been thinking, right, all the underlying metrics are telling me that we are losing points undeservedly, right? So I need to keep going and keep doing this. And that's where his fault, his massive fault lies, whereby you give the perfect example. We played Brighton. You've seen us go 2-0 up playing your way, as you would say, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, there is absolutely no need to win 6-0, 7-0 away from home to Brighton if there is a chance, if you doing that increases of the chances of them coming back and then losing the game is my issue.
But this is my point. It feels very much like, to me, it feels like, right, this is a vanity project. It feels like he's so determined to show the world that his crazy style works that I don't actually think he's thinking about the best for us. Now, you can see that because of the league games. Now, whatever people want to say about injuries, Manny, we've had all our players back for, I know we've got players out now, a couple in the last few weeks, but we're 1 win in 10. Whatever way people want to look at this, Manny, and I'm not going to talk about Tottenham as though we're the great Man United side of old or the great Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea teams. We're Tottenham Hotspur. We shouldn't be winning 1 game in 10. There is no excuse for it. And I think what a lot of fans have done now is we've normalized losing. We've normalized it. Now, I know what will happen. If we lose to Villa tonight, it will be, oh, well, this game doesn't matter anyway. But the problem is, Manny, I've heard that for about 3 months. For about 3 months, I'm hearing, Forest doesn't matter. West Ham doesn't matter. The Wolves game didn't matter. Sorry, at what point do the games matter? Because it's a real dangerous game to play to put all your eggs in the Europa League final basket, right? And that, for me, is where, if, I had a guy, I'm sure you've seen this guy, Ben, who comes on and he convinced me, tried to convince me that Ange is implementing a winning mentality. I don't know how anyone can implement a winning mentality when a football team has lost 24 games of football all season. I feel like that's the complete opposite, Manny, to a winning mentality.
No, I fully agree with you on that. I didn't see this part, but my guess is that he wasn't specifically talking about Ange implementing a winning mentality full stop, or Ange implementing a winning mentality for the entire 2 months. I think he's definitely 2 seasons. I meant. What'd you say? Sorry.
Sorry, no, sorry. When I react, it's not to you, it's to the chat.
I know.
I don't understand. How's the friendship? I mean, that's a really open-ended question. I don't know. Yeah, my friendship is great. Sure. Sorry, Manny. Go on.
No stress. I do think, however, and a lot of people, should try and think back, because I look back myself, right, and I remember. And again, this is not from contest time, but even Poch. I remember Poch always during those days saying, it doesn't matter winning the Carabao Cup. It doesn't matter winning the FA Cup. You need to win the big ones. You need to win the league. You need to win the Champions League. Because of that, he's the same person who went out to Ghent. I give him the fact that he went out to Liverpool, Chelsea when he played Sonny as left back, and he refused to not play number 1 goalkeeper Lloris, but was playing Vorm all the time. However, if you look at from the Poch times, all these managers have been battered for not prioritizing any of the cups. Same went for Mourinho, even though obviously he got to a final, and then our chairman decided to sack him the week off. But then Conte, same thing. Conte during the Sheffield United B team we lost to, and he would not play his top players purely because he wanted
I agree with Conte. I agree with
on.
Conte. I disagree with Jose and Poch. Poch got to so many semis and finals that when people say he didn't prioritize, you don't get to semis and finals if you haven't. But I completely agree with you on Conte. Completely, really frustrated the life out of me.
Yeah, and I think just to go on your point, which is I think is a major point, right? I think he got to a stage in be it February, I think it was, where he thought, right, we are where we are in the league, and we will try and get as many points as we can get. Yeah. However, my priority is the semi-final that I've got to in relation to the Carabao Cup, and then the Europa League that we're playing, right? Here is where I think he made a huge error, right? Yes, we had the injuries that we had, which in my opinion, I think are like a huge factor in what happened going after, because our squad was not, unfortunately, 23 or 25 man squad. It's not as good as it was. He should have tried whatever he could, example tactics, to get as many points as possible during the time that we had those 8, 9, 10, 11 injuries. Because then what happened is that when he then decided, right, I need to prioritize the cups, we had lost so many games in that run-in of us having the number of injuries that it was too late. It was too late.
Can I give you some information? And this is the thing. This is where I think a lot of people talk about the injuries, and I get it, but a lot of clubs have had injuries. Aston Villa have had the same amount of injuries as us this season and got to a quarter-final of the Champions League, semi-final of the FA Cup, and are challenging for Champions League football in the league. They've done it, I won't give them any credit for the League Cup, but they've done it on 3 fronts at the top level. Yeah. The difference is they've got a coach who, when they've got players missing, will adapt, change the way they play. So when people say to me, the injuries, Manny, this is just life, right? If I've got injuries to my team and my high line revolves around Mickey van der Ven or a Dogie being fit, isn't it just common sense that when they're not fit, you adapt as a manager and go, okay, cool, right, well, we've got Ben Davis and Gray playing. Right, well, we've got to sit a bit deeper. We've got to be a little bit more, I need my midfielders sitting on top of them. But no, what Ange does is literally drops these players in.
Yeah.
Still goes gung-ho. And then people go, but injuries, listen, you're paid $5 million a year to deal with this, right? And I think the underlying stat I'll leave with you is, as you know, Tottenham have lost 20 games of football this season, right?
Yeah.
In the Premier League. 12 of those games, we had a fully fit squad to pick from, right? 12 of those 20 defeats have not been during this horrible injury crisis. And I know nobody wants to hear that because it doesn't suit the injury narrative. But 5 of the defeats, right? 5 of the defeats, as we said, were in the first 12 games of the season, right? 7 of the defeats have come in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
When those players were back fit, Van der Ven, Romero, Solanke, Bentancur, Porro, Adogi.
I get that.
I get that. But just say injuries. Oh my God, we lost all these games. Well,
yeah, but there are caveats, though, isn't it? There are caveats to this. Going back to the point about
caveats to 20 league defeats.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. By the way, I'm saying to the fact that you said. I think you said 12 of those were when he had fit players available. I think you said or something like that. But going back to the point about Aston Villa, yes, Aston Villa. I think Villa, Arsenal, United seem to have had as many injuries as us. Is what I see floating around these days, right? But the point is not they had the same injuries. Is at what point in time did they have those injuries, with how many of them being out all at the same time for a considerable amount of time? Because we had 8 injuries, and I think I have it here, the players, right? So we had, at some point, we had Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero, Udogi, Madders, Spence, Johnson, Werner, who no one cares about anyway, Odobert, Solanke, all out when our team was playing Thursday, Sunday.
I've got to interject. That list you just named, Werner's not a first-team player. Jed Spence isn't a first-team player. Odobert isn't a first-team player. I'll give you the other 5, but by the way...
Yeah, but Spence was out at the same time that Udogi was out, and he was the one who replacing Udogi, so he became a first-team player.
But let's be brutally honest. Ange doesn't see Spence as a key first-team player.
100%. 100%.
Look, my issue with it is this. My issue is Bournemouth, during that time, Bournemouth had a run of about 14 games where they had 8 or 9 players out. Right? Bournemouth, with their small squad, their small budget, their small salaries, their small stadium. Bournemouth won something like 12 out of 15 Premier League games during that time. Or 11 of 15 or something. And you know why? Because they're drilled, because they're coached, because they look like a unit. Spurs lost to Palace with Van der Ven.
Oh, Romero, 100%. Those were unacceptable.
Spurs lost to Ipswich with Van der Ven, Vicario, Romero. The problem is, Manny, at what stage after 2 years do the excuses start to become a bit fluffy? At what stage do you turn around and go, I'll tell you what, let's bring the league table up, because I always think this is good fun to look at.
And by the way, I'm not saying that he couldn't do anything to mitigate those wins. Yeah,
I know you're not. But look, at what point do we go, okay, West Ham have lost 16. We've lost 20.
Yeah.
West Ham, who have sacked their manager. Wolverhampton Wanderers, right? Wolverhampton Wanderers were terrible. Brought in a new manager. Look how they flew, right? We seem to be the only one that didn't want to bring in a manager. Everton have lost 12 games of football this season with that squad, Manny. 12.
Yeah.
We've lost 20, right? Palace have lost 11 games this season. They've got a tiny squad, right? Fulham, 13, 7 less than us. Bournemouth, 11.
And a lot of these teams played 1 game a week, though.
Yep, but Manny, you know I've got the answers to this. When you're saying a lot of these teams played 1 game a week, first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
Manny, we knew we were going into Europe.
100%.
Right?
But that's my point.
So I've got no sympathy, right? If you know you're going into Europe and you know you need to play 2 games a week, don't loan out Højbjerg, right? Don't loan out Ashley Phillips. Don't exclude.
Whose decisions are these?
Hang on. This is Ange. Sorry. This is Ange. I'm sorry. So you don't think if Ange turns around and says, no, I want Højbjerg with me for the year?
100%, right? 100%, right? I think that's the thing. Like we can say, because my issue comes in when people think or people say it's just Ange and his tactics, full stop. but there
And
are
it is though.
a whole lot of
It
things that
is.
are
It
happening
is Andrew's tactics,
around.
buddy. It
I
is
I do
Andrew's
think that,
tactics.
but I do think even our transfer policy, has been horrendous. With
Hang on.
continuous, Go on.
But Manny, this is where I get frustrated. Not with you.
Yeah,
I
go
get
on.
frustrated because all of the fan base that are telling me now that, oh my God, the transfers are horrendous. There's 2 games a week in Europe. Cool. Last season, I didn't see any Spurs fans saying, I don't want Europe because it'll be too many games in a week.
Oh,
right?
no. You can't not want Europe. That's for sure.
Sure. Okay. So we knew we had Europe. For me, that's
Yeah.
not an excuse. Teams who play 2 games a week, you're playing 2 games a week because you deserve to be, because you got into Europe. Secondly, these same fans were telling me in the summer, right, that, Solanke, top signing. This guy fires us into the top 4. Cool. Oh, I really like Odegaard. Look what he does. Great. Archie Gray's generational. Brilliant. Right? All of these fans, they did it in the January transfer window. Oh, I really like Kevin Danso. Oh, Matisse Tell. Oh, Kinski might be better than Vacan. This is the thing, Manny. These fans that back it say so many positive things. And I get it. Everyone likes to be nice. Everyone wants to be positive. But the problem is, I hold them accountable, Manny, for what they've said.
Yeah, of course.
You know, if you come on to, not you, but if the royal you comes onto my show, like, there was a YouTuber who came onto my show at the beginning of the summer, end of the summer, and said, really good transfer window. We're going to finish 3rd on 81 points. He said, we bulked the squad out. We've now got the missing jigsaw piece, which was Solanke, who's going to get 25, 30 goals. Right. That person, I now see making videos going, Daniel Levy did not back Ange. But, well, hang on. You knew what the squad was going into the season. So why were you, not you, but why were you predicting 3rd or 4th?
Yeah.
What's changed then? Nothing's changed. What it is that you went a little bit overboard, a little bit by meaning a lot overboard. You bigged up every signing we made. Now it's not worked. It's Daniel Levy's fault.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, Manny, I show everyone that comes onto my channel this, right? This was my prediction for the summer. Now, I got it massively wrong. But in the summer last year, I put this up and said, don't worry about the other teams, right? Just look at Spurs in 7th.
Yeah.
Do you know the names and the abuse I got, Manny, for saying we'd finish below Chelsea and below Villa?
Right.
The abuse I got was 7th. You think he's going to drop down from 5th? Oh my God, you don't know Ange. Now we're 17th. These same fans are going.
You forgot a 1 in front of the 7, mate.
Right. So this is my point with it. Where we're saying our transfer policy's been horrendous. Sure, I don't disagree with you. I don't know about horrendous, but it's frustrating to keep buying kids.
Yeah, frustrating. Let's rephrase it. He's
got more than enough there. If he coaches them properly, to not be in 17th place.
Oh no, 100%. So that's where I agree. The point I was trying to make, right, is in the end, even on the transfer policy, Ange himself has come out and said, you know what, we got it wrong, which shows that there is a certain level of that which he is accountable for. And by the way, I am, I've never really been one of those blindly, there's a tornado in my home country, it's Levy's fault kind of guy. I've never been like that, because I work in finance. I look at what Levy has done for the club, and I'm actually, every single time I'm thinking, wow, this guy has literally future-proofed us X, Y, Z, right?
Sure.
Ange himself has acknowledged the fact that the policy itself was wrong. How we are buying Archie Gray for 40 million British pounds, right? It's beyond me. When we and again, it's not a problem if you're then going to buy someone who is experienced, who can fill in when we need them to. And again, that's nothing against Archie Gray, because he's done quite well when we had the number of injuries that we did have. But we all know that he's not the answer. With Bergvall, people love Bergvall now, but everyone has forgotten how awful he was at the start of the season and had to bed himself in. So we are quite fortunate that the guy is actually the talent that he is, because then another 18-year-old would have been another issue. So yeah, I do think it's a combination of things. our transfer policy, Ange included, was not what we needed at the time going into Europe, playing 2 games a week. His lack of rotation, by the way, which people are not really talking about at the start of the season, where he was refusing to rest Van de Ven or Romero at any point in time during us playing the Premier League, also contributed to the start of our injury crisis, right? And then unfortunately, we had a situation where we're playing 2 games a week, and he tried to bring, Van de Ven and Romero early, and ended up having a situation where we've capitulated. And then obviously, again, I know I'm banging on about transfers.
No, go for it.
But we knew how many injuries we had before we got into the second the January transfer, which was our second transfer window, and the guy was begging for in his press conferences, begging for someone to come in, and we ended up giving him 3 players. Again, you could argue whether these players came in, like Matisse Tell was the right signing, but we got these signings at the very end of the season, of the transfer window. Like, what are we thinking? What is the board, whoever it is who's making these decisions? What is the thought process? We knew we had winnable games, and again, we should have won Everton. We should have won Leicester by his own tactics. However, to help the team itself, what's everyone thinking? And obviously, we've got the other side of this season, where he's decided, for better or for worse, I'm going to prioritize the cups, and you're not going to see Van de Ven at all whatsoever in the league games, and that's the reason why we are where we are. My only question, right, and this is just people will say, and I fully accept that people will say it's just the feeling aspect or etc. My question is that when I'm looking at our start of season and then the underlying metrics and how we fared to a certain extent last season as well, is the downside of getting it wrong, if he, thinking he is not the guy and getting it wrong, is the downside bigger than us getting it right with the new person? That's my only thing. But people could say to me, Manuel, this is based on your feeling, and let's go by the facts, and I can accept that. That's not something I wouldn't accept.
Can I ask you a question? Right. Now, let me just remove this because I know that's going to be in the way. Let me show you this.
Yeah.
This can't be allowed to ever happen at Tottenham Hotspur, right? Have a look. This is since 1950. Ange's points per game is the lowest of any manager we've had.
Yeah, horrendous.
Right. Now, if we want to do that, now look at this, right? Now, this for me is, so there's a lot of information here. Basically,
no, all good. I deal with spreadsheets every day, so.
yeah, finance guy. So this is a table of every Premier League season since Spurs got promoted back to the Division 1 in 1978, right? Ange's obviously in the yellow at the bottom, but he's bottom of nearly every metric: games won, games lost.
Yeah.
You look points, league position, mate. This is I'm guessing I'm a bit older than you, right? But I've supported Spurs for 40 years, right? And in my 40 years, I've seen some really bad Spurs teams. Manny, trust me, I've seen some bad Spurs teams. They've never been 17th in the table. The only time I remember Spurs losing 20 games was in 1992, and that was when we were in a 42-game season, not a 38-game season. Surely all of this data and this metrics now is just too much now. It's too much to say you can't bring this back. You might be able to win the Europa League, but he can't bring this back in the league. Surely there's, like you said something last night, which got me immediately, right? And I went, no. I was typing, going, no, Manny, no. You said, if he wins the Europa League, give him a little bit at the start of next season. What harm can it do?
Yeah.
Manny, it could do irreparable harm, right? It could do harm to the point where we're going to make the same mistake Man United did when they didn't sack Ten Hag gave him 230, 240 million in a transfer window, sack him, the new manager comes in, he's like, well, hang on, I need my own players, and now they're in the position they're in. So surely
let me counter that slightly, all right? So
sure.
the reason why even though by the way, I've bashed
They're not looking at they're not looking at Sean Dyche. Come on, let's not do that.
That's not even. I think someone said to me it's Scott Parker, but I don't see it being a Levy signing. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. Right. The reason why I personally would be comfortable giving him, the first 3 months of the season, which is what I've said in various different platforms, is because
even if he doesn't win it.
Well, if he doesn't win it, I don't think his relationship with fans is reparable enough for him to stay, right? And
if he doesn't win it, he's our worst ever manager. This season will be our 100%. Worst ever season.
100%. No, and that's the thing. But in my opinion, I think, and again, that's a totally different topic of conversation. But his handling of fans and handling of media is a whole different topic that we could even talk about, which has been quite horrendous, by the way, right? The reason why I don't think is I think from my perspective I could give him the time that I'm talking about is for two different reasons. One, even though I've bashed our transfer policy in relation to bringing in only young players and then one older player, but actually we've not bought for Ange, we've bought for the club. And the reason why I say this, Porro was a right wing back, Udogie was a left wing back when they were both playing at Sporting and Udinese. If we bring in a three, say, I think people have been saying Oliver Glasner, you drop in Danso into the 3 defense. You have those 2 wing backs. Yep. You have what's his name? Bissouma is much better in a double pivot than he is in a 3 month in a lone pivot.
Yeah.
We could adjust, right? Our players that we've bought in totality, I think suit a lot of different systems. So if a manager was to come in October.
Hang on, man. The thing is, I hear this a lot when people say we haven't bought for Ange. What is an Ange player? Like I genuinely don't.
Sorry. What I mean is the players do suit Ange's system. All I'm saying is that we haven't gone down the what's his name? You just mentioned his name, the United manager.
Amorim.
No, the one before him, Ten Hag. The summer that they had, bringing in Dele, bringing in Mazraoui, etc. They could only play one system. They could only play 4 at the back, and we've seen very, very clearly Amorim coming in that he's tried to switch and stick to his 5 at the back formation, and they cannot play it. They've had a little bit of a insurgence, they will say, against in Europe, but they've lost 4 games less than we have, and they're still just 1 point above us. The point I'm making is that the players are Ange's players, but they could adapt to suit different systems if we wanted them to. That's my point.
Yeah, listen, I get that, but do you know what? A manager needs. Listen, I mean, if we're going to do the whole Amorim Ange thing, Ruben Amorim's had 1 signing. Ruben Amorim's had Patrick Dorgu, who does suit his system, right? Yeah. He's had 1 signing.
Yeah.
And Postecoglou's had 2 years, 4 transfer windows, 2 summers to coach, no Europe last season, so they were on the training ground every day, 17 new signings. Apparently everyone cheered because he got rid of all the deadwood. This is his squad. This is his, right? Yeah. And for me, if you don't want Porro and Udogie because they're wing backs, do something about it in the summer. Not this summer, last summer. Do something.
Oh, yeah. No. I don't think he doesn't want them, by the way. I don't think he doesn't want them.
No. But I'm just making the point of...
Yeah.
I watch Ange's system, and I'll be honest, in my 40 years of watching football, I've never seen such a bad tactical manager. I think he's horrendous. I don't think he's upskilled anyone. There's not one player in our team that's better than when he joined 2 years ago. I don't think any of the players he's brought in are improving. I think that we're getting what... Listen, I think. This is when people say to me, these are my opinions, right? you can see here from this graph, if I use this graph again, if you actually look at the fourth column in, which is the points per game, it's gone down and down and down. And this is 64 games here, 32 defeats in there, 32 defeats in 64. The points per game is getting worse. He can't coach, Manny. He cannot coach because nothing has improved. We're not better going forward.
I think he can't coach
defensively. Manny, he can't coach going forward either. If you actually watch Tottenham go forward, right? Tottenham have one way of playing going forward. It's get the ball to the byline, someone pulls it back, tapping. We don't.
I get that. I do get frustrated about that a lot. But however, Brennan Johnson, 50, and it's probably his fault. He bought him, 50 million.
Hang on.
Brennan Johnson.
Solanke then. Solanke, he has gone on record as saying, "I'm so happy we got this over the line. This is the player I wanted all summer." Right? He said that. Dominic Solanke, why has he only got 8 Premier League goals if this guy can coach attacking?
I think it's the system that he's playing, isn't it? Because Solanke has ended up dropping deep, and he's not. You know, his quality is very good, but his quality is not that. No, I do accept your points.
Doesn't that show what I'm saying is correct then? Like,
no, I do accept your points. Yeah.
He can't coach a team going forward. Watch us going forward. It's gung ho. There's no patterns of play. There's no real build up. It is just always like everyone floods forward. I just don't understand how any Spurs fan is watching this, seeing the stats, seeing the data, watching our games, seeing how, by the way, people say attacking football. I have never been more bored watching a Tottenham team play. I can't understand how everyone's watching this and still going, I'd give him more time. When did we become Burnley? When did we become Wolves? When did we become Leeds United who are going to get promoted? Like, where's our pride gone? Where's our ambition gone?
I think when... So, by the way, I suppose from your perspective, even if he does win it, you would want him gone, right?
Mate, he shouldn't be here to manage at the final. But yes, there's too much water under the bridge. There's too much. He can't... He's shown, Manny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I can't get in my head, right? Do you know what I can't get in my head? I get it that he would have won a trophy. The correlation with that and give him more time, we've seen 2 years in the Premier League. He can't coach in the Premier League. He had 10 games at the beginning, which have made his tenure look a lot better than it is, right? The last 19 months, right? And again, these are the facts. Since this moment, right? This very moment, this ball over the top here. Yeah. These are the facts. People say my facts, my stats, my data. They're not mine, Manny. They are the facts. These are the facts that for 19 months, the defeats are worse than ever. The goals conceded are worse than ever. The points per game is worse than ever. These are the facts.
And go on.
What is it that people think? There you go. Sorry for ranting, but do you think, Manny, that people go, oh, he's won the Europa League now because he beat Frankfurt, Bodo Glimt, Alkmaar, and Man United. Suddenly next season we see a different Tottenham with a different style of play.
I agree. I
don't get it.
If that's the question, 100% no. That's the answer to your question. My thing is, from my perspective, again, I go back to, because you're mentioning that, you know, he's not a good coach. He can't coach going forward, etc. But those stats in those first 10 games of this season, not last season when we won, you know, like 10 or 8 or 9, right? This season, the underlying metrics shows that he was coaching them because it doesn't.
No, we're going to debate on this.
You don't get to the top of expected goals scored, fewest goals conceded by not coaching the team.
Manny, you also don't lose the volume of games he lost in that period of time by coaching the team.
Oh, no, 100%. That's ego, Manny, by the way.
But Manny, we can't sit here and say, listen, football isn't played by expected goals, right?
Of course.
Expected goals this, clean sheets that. At the end of the day, the league table showed you after the first 12 games, this man had already managed to lose 5 Premier League games in 12, right? 5 in 12, right? Doesn't matter about your expected goals. When we lost at Crystal Palace, we were bloody awful. We lost 1-0. What were the expected goals? You know what? I don't care. We lost 1-0.
100%. Yeah.
When we lost to Brighton 3-2, I don't care what our expected goals were. We lost. People were saying Newcastle and Arsenal, we actually played well. We lost both games. And what we've done is, Manny, and again, sorry, I'm going to put you in this bracket. Don't be offended. I'm going to put you in this
all
bracket.
good. All good.
We're normalizing losing now because of different metrics, right? If Spurs this season lost 9 games of football and you went, oh, do you know what? 9 games of football, but we finished 5th or 6th and we've won a Europa League. You know, you go, yeah, there you go. The underlying stats show Tottenham have actually, you know what, a few tweaks here or there. We're a top team. But Manny, we're 17th.
100%.
With 20 league defeats. The underlying metrics, right? I'll tell you what, would you like some underlying metrics? Because I've got a stat guy. And my stat guy is actually in the chat. And he sent me this. So the underlying metrics, right? Now, again, this is quite small, right? But this is the stats for every single game this season, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I've shown my, I think this is the first time all my viewers are seeing this. What you will see here, right, is when we don't play Ange ball, i.e. when we have less possession, we're actually a better football team, right?
Yeah.
I tell you what, Glenn, you're in the chat. Glenn put this together for me. Glenn, what was the upshot you gave me the other day of actually what this actually meant, all of it together? But when you're talking about, you know, expected goals, look at the expected goals against in most of our games. They are huge. Look at the expected goals against. 3.39, 2.28, 2.39, 2.20, 2.12, 2.06, 2.53.
Yeah,
right.
But you see, though, I know I must be sounding like a broken record because obviously everyone thinks I'm making excuses. But you look at from game week 1 to game week 10, 11, 12, they were all 1 and below. And then what happens? I know people think it's just excuses, but then you literally all the 3.7 for 2.x, they're all from a certain position onwards. And I'm not
okay. So why are a lot of them since all the players have been back?
Because we've not been playing our players in the league, Savva.
Hang on, Manny, no. No. See, this is the thing where you get the argument.
Enlighten me. Maybe I got this wrong, right? But since our players have been back, have we really been playing them week in, week out in the Premier League?
Manny, have you noticed whoever we play in the Premier League, we lose at the moment? Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Right? Whoever we play. Right? The problem we've got is here. You've got those stats this season. You've got the stats last season. You know what? The Premier League table doesn't lie. Listen, we played Palace the other day, right? That was an utter embarrassment of a game. This was a Crystal Palace team that were playing in an FA Cup final 6 days after that game. They put their full strength team out and battered us. It shouldn't have been 2-0. That game should have been 7 or 8. They battered us, right? Now, that was with lesser players playing. What about when we played Wolves? Players like Romero were playing, Porro were playing. They battered us. This is the problem. I can't understand how people cannot see it is the tactics. It doesn't matter which 11 play, right? It doesn't matter what our XG is, for or against. It doesn't matter. This system leaves us wide open. And you know what, Manny? Even if the goals expected against us are 0.5, you know what? I still expect Spurs to concede 2 goals because we are wide open.
Yeah,
no, Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example to a game you used as an example. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't feel sorry, Manny. Have I talked over you?
No. I've spoken quite a lot, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I sat back for about 5 minutes and let Manny give a whole.
No.
I hate people like this. I just can't stand. They just say shit.
I've spoken quite a lot, to be completely honest. So
Let me bring a game to you, right?
Yeah.
So a good example would be a game where people said, oh, this game shows that we're better than last year because we only lost by 1 goal. And that was Newcastle United away at the beginning of the season. Now, if we go to those stats there, so a Newcastle United away, beginning of the season, there we go, the third game. And you can see that our expected goal was only 1.264, but our expected goal against was 1.83. We only had 2 big chances, but 2 big chances against us. The difference is, Manny, right? In that game, people were coming out after that game going, oh, we were a better team because we dominated the ball completely.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have many big chances. The difference was Newcastle had how many chances in the game and
2.
scored both of them, right? Because we are wide open. We can't defend, and that's how we're set up. Now imagine this manager tweaked it a little bit. Now imagine he had a number 6. Now imagine he didn't play such a high line. I don't think we're a terrible team.
No, I agree. I actually don't think we're terrible. I think a lot of people, both Anjin and Anjao, to be completely honest, do say that our team is horrendous. I don't think our team is horrendous. I actually think there are certain qualities within the team that we're missing, like a 6, a proper 6, by the way. Like again, I was saying that to Box Office yesterday. When I'm watching, and I know PSG are in a different stratosphere to us, but when I watch PSG's wingers, you give them the ball, the first thing in their minds that they're thinking is, I'm taking my man on.
Yeah.
If you watch us, right, even sometimes, and I don't know whether people have clocked this, Porro and Romero get the ball. They don't even want to pass the ball to Johnson on the right? Our wingers, when they get the ball, the first thing that they think about is to pass the ball back. So clearly there's been something wrong in our profiling of what we require. That's my first thing. The second thing is our 2 chances, funny enough, the 2 chances that we created against Newcastle, who did they fall to? They fell to Brennan Johnson. Those are the and this is the reason why I keep saying it's a combination, because bearing in mind, if our tactics were tweaked, right, we wouldn't have been caught so high up the field when Newcastle scored that second goal, right, where Romero was on the left-hand side of his position rather than the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have conceded. And us not conceding that goal would have kept the momentum on to us, which is what it was at the time. And again, had we had better goal scorers, I know Johnson is our highest goal scorer. However, he does, unless he is tapping in, balls into the and again, I don't want to say tap in because it's a disrespect.
You could say it. I agree with you. Right? Tap in.
But if it wasn't for that, if we had better goal scorers in the goal scoring positions again, and our tactics were tweaked, we win that game easily. Which is why I've said to people very, very, very many a times, I understand people that want him sacked, because if he was sacked today, you cannot argue it. But my thing is, a lot of times is, okay, who do people want? Because the people that I'm hearing, I don't want to hear it, to be completely honest with you. So who do people want and what? Yeah.
Let me ask you again. We had again, and I'm not going to talk about the quality of this player. I don't think he could be at Spurs, but I do think he's better than some of the wingers we're seeing now. He bought in. This isn't the player I'm talking about. He bought in Odegaard, who is a direct winger who runs at players and doesn't allow him to do it. Right? He had Solomon, who does run at players directly, and loaned him out. So he's almost brought in players who are kind of inverted wide men that don't run at players. But the biggest question you've got to ask about what you've just said is, and again, this is a player I don't even rate him. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's great. I didn't want to buy this player, Manny. Dominic Solanke, right? Yeah. I didn't want to buy him. I don't think he's good enough for Spurs. But credit where it's due. Last year, he got 19 league goals. Now, this is a manager that's got a guy who managed to get 19 league goals playing for a team, Bournemouth, who finished well below us. Surely the inefficiencies, the deficiencies of his tactics have meant that we've not been able to get Dominic Solanke scoring the same amount of goals.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's on Ange. You've got Sonny, who we can have the argument all day long about is Son a winger? Is he an inside forward? Is he a striker? I don't care. All I know is for the last 10 years, Sonny scores goals, right?
Yeah.
This year, completely dried up. So for me, it's almost as though he's kind of self-sabotaged his own tactics to prove he's right rather than getting the best out of the players he's got. Look at James Maddison. James Maddison is one of the best number 10s in the league. He's a playmaker. He spends half his game for Spurs on the halfway line, dropping deep and getting the ball because everyone's inverting into his number 10 position. Again, little tweaks. You watch a new manager will come in here, whether they play wing backs, whether they play a back four, a new manager will come in here, immediately will put in a number 6. That solves half your problems. Immediately will get James Maddison as your number 10, saying, I don't want you on the halfway line. You're no good. James Maddison is no good to me running around like a headless chicken. Get him in the final third. He's back to goal, receiving the ball, turning. Now he's starting off play. Ange doesn't do that. Porro is a right wing back, right? Who he's got inverting as a right fullback into mid. That's not his game. Udogie the same. Mickey van der Ven, he's going to get his. I don't know how his coaching has coached and helped any player at this squad. Can you tell me a player that's improved under Angepostecoglou?
I mean, people will say Brandon Johnson, but I listen. I agree. You make valid points, right? On that. You know, when it comes to even the Solomon thing, I couldn't understand. And I fully agree with you because.
Fair, just fair play to you, Manny, for this, because what I get a lot of people that say to me, oh, you only have people who have the same opinion. And I always say, no, I ask the people who are more sympathetic or the Ange, I ask them on, hardly any of them will ever come on. So I really enjoy this conversation.
No, but thanks, man. But back on the point, I do agree with you. I don't understand why he let go of Solomon. Considering the fact that even in pre-season, he was one of the most direct players that we could get at that point in time. With regards to Brennan Johnson, you know, how much is it him saying, I want Brennan Johnson versus being told, right, these are the players that we have. Brennan Johnson is who we advise to go. We advise you to go for, considering the fact that because I think I was hearing Harry Redknapp last time saying, "Oh, Levy spent money." Yeah, he spent a lot of money, but that's not the problem. That it's been the problem has been is that instead, if Levy had the chance, the option, or the recruitment team had the option of buying a player for 50 million on 50 grand a week versus buying a player on 40 million on 163 grand a week, he would go for the player on 50 million or 60 million on 50 grand a week, whose quality most likely is less than the other player. And that's my only issue. Sometimes with regards to the transfer policy, Ange will come out and say, and because he's not going to come out and say, oh, you know what, guys, I did not want these players. I did not want that player. And actually, I would have wanted the other player.
Of course. But, Manny, do you know this? And again, this isn't my issue with Ange. This is my issue with Spurs fans, right? Do you know what we always do? When a player is successful, right? When it's a player we like, we always say it's the manager's signing, right? So, for example, when you look at Mickey van der Ven, who everyone likes, oh, what's a good signing? Ange wanted him, right? Yeah. When it's a player that people don't like, it's, oh, Ange didn't want him. It's like, whoa, hang on. Right? From everything I'm hearing, and from what he's told us, he made a real big point of saying Solanke's his guy. Yeah. Right? He made a real big point of saying Brennan Johnson was his guy. Yeah. Right? And then you add Son to that. That front three, if that's his front three, make it work. If that's
his front three, then we've got a problem in our talent ID. I fully agree. I
completely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Which is why when I'm arguing with Spurs fans all season, listen, I said about Dominic Solanke. By the way, if I say I don't rate a player, it doesn't mean I hate them. It's nothing personal. He seems like a nice guy. Dominic Solanke, for me, we've got what we bought. And what I mean by that is we've got a guy that had one good year in like a 9-10 year career as a professional footballer. Yeah. So when people are saying, I can't believe this, I can't believe that. Well, this is why I didn't want to buy him, right? For me, I think there were better options out there, cheaper options. But for me, I think a coach will get the best out of these players. If you look at the start of this season, again, I'll use Thomas Frank as the example. So they've sold Tony and they bought in, is it Thiago? They bought in the striker Thiago, who got injured in pre-season and hasn't played a minute.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
So he's found another way. Sometimes he plays with a free, with Sharda, Visser, and Mbuemo. Other times he plays Visser and Mbuemo as a 2. Sometimes he plays Visser on his own and Mbuemo's out wide right. And you think to yourself, yeah, you've adapted, you've learned, you've found a different way. He's got Damsgaard into dangerous positions on the football pitch where he can hurt teams, not on the halfway line. If Thomas Frank can do that, there is no reason that Angepostecoglou, if he's a coach, can't do that. What we can't do,
it goes back to your point, isn't it? Like I genuinely sometimes look at it and I think it definitely has to be the ego within him saying, I want to prove that we can win, or we can, be that there is a sustainable aspect to my game. Because I fully agree with you. I think I went to the Spurs stadium. I went to the Bodo game, right, at home. And was it the Bodo game or was it the Frankfurt game? It was one of them at home. And it was during the dying minutes of the game. We were getting, it was the Frankfurt away game. That's it. Yeah. Dying minutes of the game. We were getting absolutely killed on the right-hand side, right, of the back. And crosses just kept coming back and forth, coming back from the left. What did he do? He literally brought in Danso, got us into a 3 at the back, allowed Porro to push up and actually stop those crosses on the right, and allowed Dogi to be able to mark the guy. I forgot the guy's name. I think Christensen or whatever his name was on the left, which goes back to my point. Clearly, he can make these tactical adjustments, but for whatever reason, he's so intent, and it's definitely when you look at his history and what the way he speaks about, how he's always been the underdog, etc. Which is why he would have been the perfect fit for Spurs if he could actually adapt a lot more in-game management, not just general adaptation. In-game management. He's been told throughout his career that he's not good enough. Look how he reacted when they were trying to tell him that whoever wins the Europa League shouldn't get Champions League. He straight away was like, oh, it's because of Spurs. I would love it if we win it, because they're dying about the fact that personality wise and where he's from, he would have been such a perfect fit for a club that everyone literally poo-poos upon because they think we don't know anything, etc. He would have been perfect for us, but for whatever reason, he's so intent in trying to justify his way of play instead of looking at the bigger picture of making sure that he wins football games what comes mate. And that's my only issue with regards to the way because Frankfurt backs against the wall, 1-0 up, being killed on the flanks. He did that.
But doesn't it go to show though, Manny, that see what I think, again, I might be wrong here. If we look at what people are talking about, the difference between the European performances and the Premier League performances, I feel like we're only talking about the last 2 ties, which is Bodo and Frankfurt. I think against Alkmaar, I thought it was really poor.
But to be fair, both home and away were quite poor.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look when he's tweaked tactics in both games, right, in those 2 ties, it's when we've been in front. Mm-hmm. And it's been when he knew, let's be fair, he knew out to Frankfurt, he's getting the sack. He knew out to Bodo Glimt, he's getting the sack, right? Now, I think lots of people, it's like that in a weird way. It's like, when they say that when they're in moments of panic, suddenly they get that moment of strength. Yeah. So, like if somebody's in a burning car, if someone's in a car that's about to blow up, suddenly people find this superhuman strength and, they get That's what Ange is doing in terms of, hang on, this is now my job on the line. I'm going to do this. I completely agree with you, Manny. This is the baffling thing. Yeah. There are so many games in the Premier League where you go, all right, we're winning 1-0. or we're losing 1-0. Do something. Do something different.
Yes.
The Roma game in the Europa League, you could see Roma in that second half just started to ramp it up,
that's a good example. Yeah.
If do something different, go to the back three, put two midfielders on in midfield and say, stop being gung-ho. But he doesn't unless his job is on the line. And that for me is a worry that when someone will only change, right? It's like if you're in a relationship and your partner has told you, I'm going to leave you if you don't stop doing this. I'm going to leave you, right? And they don't for a year. Then you see the bags packed at the front door. Oh, I'll change. Right. Great. Like, it's right. And I feel like he's left it too late. But listen, I've got a couple of super chats, and one of them is a direct question to you. First of all, big up Rob Brown. Love that little pug in the picture. Can't work out what the other dog is, but dogs looking out of car windows is brilliant for so many reasons. Big up to you for the super sticker. Thank you very much. And guys, if Rob Brown can put in a super sticker, you guys can smash a like button, and guys, you can please subscribe. Likes, please. We've had 3 subscribers today, so not too bad. Yeah, absolutely. Manny will be leaving us in 10 minutes, by the way. I'll keep going. And here's a question to you, Manny. And when you need to go, just interrupt me and say, I've got to go. It's absolutely fine. I won't be offended.
Thumbs up.
Mark Taylor, big up to you. Thank you, Rob Brown. Mark Taylor, thank you as always, channel member. Said, Savva, can you ask your guest what he actually likes about Ange? I never hear the Ange fans answer this. This is a good question.
No, it is a good question. Like, as I said, when I go back to, I like the mentality that he was trying to bring into our games, right? And I think that's actually where his downfall has been. He's come from the Australian League, the Japan League, the Scottish League, whereby he has dominated teams to submission, right? He's come into the Premier League with the philosophy that playing my way, I will create overloads against teams, whether you're a small team, whether you're a big team, we will press you into submission for you to make mistakes. And then in transition, we will hit you and then win games. The reason why a lot of people, and I don't subscribe to it, the reason why a lot of people were always like, oh, we only lose by one goal, but we win by however many goals, is exactly that. Because when his way of playing works, right, we do press teams into submission. And there is a certain level of there are certain managers in the past, etc., like Pep, who have that philosophy inside, whereby it's like, well, if my team is not good enough, I'm going to continue. I'm going to get whoever it is that is above me to buy me the quality of players to get me to play my way. Because when I play my way, I'll press teams into submission and dominate teams to show that. To show our dominance. So that for me is what I really liked about Ange. When I look at the games against West Ham 4-1, United 3-0, Villa 4-1, even to a certain extent City, even though obviously we were more backs against the wall to a certain extent, I understand his philosophy. But what I do think is that he's actually made an error in underestimating the Premier League. Because the Premier League is not your normal league.
It's not Scotland, is it?
It's not your normal league. You've got teams like what teams are in the playoff finals? Southampton, Sunderland against Sheffield United, right?
Yeah.
Who would win that game and automatically get about £100 million to spend to improve their teams. So you've got teams from top to bottom who and with quality managers as well, by the way, who will pick your tactics up so easily and so quickly. That is the reason why the likes of Pep came in saying, oh, we're just going to do tiki-taka, and then realized very quickly, actually, yes, we're going to do tiki-taka. Yes, I'm going to bring in quality players. However, sometimes I'm going to play conventional left backs and right backs. Sometimes I'm going to play inverted ones because I need to change and evolve my game enough to be able to deal with how good teams are and how good their analytics teams are. And I think Ange's era, unfortunately, has come in thinking, I will do it my way, or it's going to be the highway, and that it won't work. And I personally actually do think that he's realized that, albeit under the circumstances that you've just mentioned, Savva. However, the problem that I actually think is even the biggest problem than even him realizing too late that his tactics can't just fly and that's it, is the fact that he's alienated fans. And my bad, English is my second language. By the way.
No, you're right. He's alienated fans. Yeah, you're right.
He's pushed fans with his comments sometimes, with his cupping of the ears so far down the line that it becomes very hard to retrieve. Because had he just tried as much as possible to keep fans on side, I actually think there would have been a lot more fans would have been more sympathetic to his cause and the circumstances somewhat this season than there are now. I think a lot of people at the moment just feel he's arrogant, and it's like, well, mate, you're arrogant and you're not winning.
So what? Yeah, I do you know what? I don't disagree with that, but essentially, if I try and take everything you've said there and put it in a snapshot, basically, the theory of what he's trying to do is great. Yep. The reality of what's actually happening is not. And realistically, most coaches in the Premier League live somewhere in the middle of those two realities.
Correct. Right? And at the moment, he is not.
And this is the problem. Ange's reality of Ange's theory, which on paper you go, oh, this is amazing. We're going to overload everyone. We're going to win every game. That's brilliant. That's over here. At the moment, what's actually happening is we're losing 20 games a season because he can't change. What should be happening is he needs to live in here where he goes, I want to keep my principles. I want to keep my theories, but I need to add some pragmatism, i.e., do you know what he could have won a lot of fans over? In the summer, instead of buying an Archie Gray, go and buy a number 6, senior pro, stick him in front of the back 4. And for me, Spurs don't lose 20 games. Spurs lose 12 games.
I've been saying this for ages.
Right.
For ages.
But Manny, if you've been saying it for ages, and I've been saying it for ages, and nearly everyone in every chat room is saying, why don't we have a defensive midfielder? That, for me, makes me again go, this is vanity from Ange. Because anyone who, when he came into the squad, anyone would have looked at this squad and gone, they are crying out for a defensive midfielder and a playmaker. Now, he got the playmaker because the playmaker in Maddison, that's fun. Yep. Getting a playmaker's fun. You don't really need to coach a playmaker too much. Playmakers are naturally technically good. They're naturally good readers of the game, good passers. They're intelligent. If you look at Bruno Fernandes, James Maddison, Kevin De Bruyne, I'm not saying they're all on the same level, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
You look at Eze. These people are naturally gifted footballers.
Correct.
Now, finding the DM and making that person make your back 4 tighter and being like a deep line quarterback, that needs coaching.
Yeah.
So for me, I think Ange has gone out and done, okay, Maddison, brilliant. But sitting in front of the back 4, that for me would completely revolutionize the way Spurs play. Yeah. And in 2 years, 4 windows, £400 million, 17 signings, he has not bought that one guy. He has not gone out and said, I want that guy, the unglamorous player, the player that the fans all appreciate, but isn't sexy.
Yeah. And to your point, by the way, and to your point, right? Because I've been saying this forever. The pressing high, to me personally, is not the issue. The issue that comes in when we are on the ball, we've pressed high, we've got Porro inverting high, Udogie inverting high. What should be happening, in my opinion, is that Romero and Van der Ven should be splitting up slightly, and our number 6 should be dropping into that middle to shore it up. Instead, what's happening with us at the moment is Porro pushes up, Udogie pushes up, Bentancur goes marauding, and then you've got Bissouma, who's not a 6, by the way, poor guy, just goes wandering as well. So when we make that error, right, and lose possession, then we've got 4v2, 3v2, 5v3, and that's our biggest issue. Having a number 6 would have literally done so much for us, because naturally, like take the example of Declan Rice, right? And Declan Rice has proved to be so far a better 8 than he is a 6. However, Declan Rice, as when he doesn't have the ball, watch him. He is looking around, because inherently he's a 6. So he's looking, if we lose the ball right now, where are the risks? So, and that is hard to be taught, right? He's tried to teach Bissouma this. He's tried to teach Bentancur this. These are 2 8s. They don't do it, and that's where it's been a massive. And genuinely, I would genuinely would rather him come out today and say, right, guys, these are the things that, and to the media, speak to the media, but speak directly to fans and say, these are the things that I would have wanted to implement. These have been our shortcomings, and this is how I'm going to learn from it. Give me some time. I genuinely would think that he would get a lot more respect from people than the way he's going at the moment, where he's like, oh no, Europe is just different. No, it's not that different. I know it's different, but it's not that different. Whereby like suddenly your players just change the way they play. No, it's not like that.
I completely agree with you. And listen, I know you need to jump in 1 minute.
Yeah, so I need to jump off. But go on.
Yeah, just really quickly, just before you go. Again, this is why when I show this, I show these pictures to people. This is what he needs to stop. This was at Celtic, so it shows that it's not just at Spurs, right? This is how he plays. You can't be allowing transitions like that every game, right?
No.
You got that. Then look, this is at Spurs against Wolves. Look again, one centre back. Then you've got look again here. Look how high the line is. Look, this is against Frankfurt. So, I could do this all day. And Chelsea.
Yeah.
What is it? Listen, Manny, I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Thoroughly enjoyed
the conversation with you. You're always welcome on. You've got my number as well. Listen, people, Manny, have you started the channel yet, or are you just getting it underway? What's going on?
I'm getting it underway. So it's designated Hotspur. I haven't posted any video yet. I'm hoping to start posting from next week. But yeah, that I will definitely be a lot more visible going forward, and I absolutely enjoyed being here. So I like having constructive conversations.
Agreed.
And really understanding where people come from, the viewpoint that people come from. So anytime, man, anytime, just if you need anything, just have me on. I will definitely come through.
Absolutely. And listen, people, when Manny does get his channel up and running, please do go over and subscribe. Manny, when you've got it up and running and you posted your first video, send me the link. I'll get it out here. And if you need any help with the channel, just ask, because there's a lot that goes into YouTube behind the scenes.
I know. I'm starting to see.
Some of us have done it for years, and still I have to ask people questions. So listen, I'm going to stay. Manny's going to leave. Manny, enjoy your day. Have fun working. Take care. See you later.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Bye-bye. What a thoroughly nice guy. It goes to show, doesn't it, that you can have conversations with the opposition viewpoint without it getting horrible and nasty and heated. Guys and girls, Sky is still down. That's the bad thing for anyone that missed at the beginning of the show. Sky is down. I'm hoping it's back in time for the Villa Spurs game tonight. There's an activation server problem. Is anyone else experiencing that? Let me know, just so that I feel less embarrassed. I'm going to have to ring up Sky in a minute and go, when's my Sky going to work again? It doesn't work. Big up Haskenhoff. How you doing, bro? Much love to you. Greatest beard in the world. Guys, I want to see Savva's reaction and post-game analysis. Fans loses. Well, you're going to get one if we win or lose it. By the way, on Wednesday, we are live in the morning for a morning show, and then we'll be live from 4 p.m. for all the build-up, people calling in from Bilbao, then a live watch-along. Then we'll be going after the show, after the game. So win or lose, we'll be here, and we'll see what happens. Thanks, Mark. Really upset by that. I've just got your Sky mini box and your Sky activation server don't work. Unbelievable. Really annoyed. I've got... Oh, dearie me. Anyway, guys, I was going to have a look at... where are we? Yeah, Sky and Virgin crashed last night. Yeah, that makes sense. Already, Luke. It's already... Can I talk quickly about that Yamal goal last night, says Angus. I mean, what is there left to say about this kid? When we talk about young players and potential and ceilings, this is the kid. This is the guy. He is frighteningly good. And that goal last night was, he's just like a little Messi, isn't he? He's just frighteningly good. Frightening good. Yeah, I've tried all that. Nothing's working. I'll tell you what, should we try that? Let's go. Bearing in mind, I'm just going under the desk. Here you go. This is a first, isn't it? Bear with me 1 second. Hello, dogs. Right, Sky's gone off. 6 seconds. Sky's gone off. Going back on. I know I'm getting old. You know when you go down on your knees or whatever, and then you try and get back up again when you're a bit older. It hurts. Right, Sky is starting again. I bet it doesn't work, but we'll give it a go. Guys and girls, the final. This team was sent to me this morning for Man United. Rob, I do try my best. I always try my best. Even though I'm told I'm a narcissistic drug addict, I do try my best. So thank you very much. Turn it on and off. Yeah, the IT crowd. Absolutely love it. Let's have a look. Well done, Rob. Please smash the subscribe button. Anyone that hasn't. Nate has said, Savva, thoughts on the Ajax bottle job? And would you take Peter Bosz, the PSV manager? Look, I think everyone gets called a bottle job now. Everything's a bottle job. I don't really like the term, if I'm brutally honest. Look, I mean, Ajax have let a huge lead in the league slip, right? And they made a massive faux pas the other night. But their manager's done a very good job getting them back up there. And hey, it is what it is. Would I take Peter Bosz? I mean, I would take anyone over Ange, but not right now. I wouldn't. I think there's better options out there than Peter Bosz. Let's have a look. Hang on, my broadband is saying, joining your network. This may take a moment. Guys, this might work. Christos has said, Ange has given the players the opportunity to showcase their talents. However, it is unsustainable over a Premier League campaign. Another domestic. I don't think he's given anyone an opportunity to showcase their talents. He stifles their talents. His tactics are absolutely disgusting. But thank you for the comment. Sorry. Let's have a look. This is a predicted lineup that someone gave me for Man United. I just wonder what you thought, whether or not this is something that we should be looking at being able to beat. And again, this isn't a confirmed team. This is just a possibility of what Man United might do. We know they're going to play the 3-4-3. You've got Onana in goal, Mazraoui, Maguire and Yoro as a back three. Ahmad and Dorgu with the width, and Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes in the middle. And then Mount and Garnacho flanking Højlund. Look, again, it's not a top Man United team, is it? It's not. But what it does have is it's got pace out wide from Dorgu and Diallo. No, that didn't work. Sky is definitely down. Sky is definitely down my end. They've got the width from Ahmad and Dorgu. You've got the experience of Casemiro, Maguire, Mazraoui, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount. I don't know. I mean, we know that Yoro is a doubt for the game. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, there's opportunities. I'm guessing they could. Mount might not play there, and Ahmad could play in more of a forward role as a front three. Luke Shaw might play. I don't know. Listen, it's certainly one of the weakest Man United teams I've ever seen, but they've got experience, haven't they? And I don't think we do. I don't think we've got that experience. Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, experienced campaigners. I don't even know anymore who's got the better team. I don't know who's got the weaker team. I think this is going to be as 50-50 as a game of football gets. Now, I know that's very much a cliche, but it's very, very much a cliche as Danny joins us. But this is the weakest Man U team I've seen in definitely in 3 decades. But they do have that experience. Dan, welcome, mate. How you doing? Good morning. Happy Friday.
Oh, happy Friday morning. You two was having a good chat on this. I thought I'd just sit back and have my coffee and leave you to it and say hello at the end, basically.
No, mate, always. Everyone's more than welcome. I like Manny. He's got some interesting views. I like that. Mm-hmm. I like that he's not all in on one thing. I like that. It was a really good chat. Dan, I mean, do you know what? We're not going to talk about Man U. Let's talk about tonight's game. Aston Villa. He's ordering his coffee. There you go. I bet he was ordering a coffee there. Any money, he was ordering a coffee.
Mate, yeah, no, I was just trying to get the lights turned on. Looks like I've got to turn it on myself.
It's an interesting. Yeah, Sky's down for me. This is really bad. I'm gonna have to get on Sky.
Yeah, Sky crashed last night, and the internet crashed last night in a lot of areas with Virgin. They're still trying to fix it in a lot of areas. It's proper up and down, basically. I don't know the full thing on it.
That makes sense. None of my Sky boxes in my house work at all, so I know it's not. I know it's not me, if you will. I know it's anyway. Look. Dan, it almost feels like repeating ourselves. I mean, look, it's Aston Villa away. Can you see a world in which we don't lose tonight? I guess that's how I'll start this one. Can you see a world in which Aston Villa, who are chasing Champions League football, don't put Spurs to the sword?
On a realistic side, we know anything can happen, yeah? But just being realistic here, like what I've said, the season's already done. It's over on our side. The players, definitely, it looks like it's the same way for them. Also, it looks like the manager looks on it the same way as well. They've got everything to fight for, basically, and we've got 14th or 15th to fight for. Whether we should be or shouldn't be, whatever, ain't the point I'm making. We know what everyone's looking for, and that is the next game. Is he even, after the game he put out with, what was it, 12 days difference or 11 days difference, whatever it was, do you really expect him to put a better team in now to risk it within less amount of time coming up to this next game? So, and the way they play, the way we play, and that realistically, I don't see us beating Villa, not at all. But again, anything is possible. But on a realistic point of view, they've still got everything to play for. We haven't on the mentality side, and also they're better than us. Simple as that.
By the way, somebody's just sent to me, by the way, guys, that Oliver Glasner is now the odds-on favourite to be Tottenham's manager at the start of next season. He's the odds-on favourite. There's been a lot of noise this week that's kind of shifted from Xavi to Glasner. We'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, let's welcome Philly and his really colourful jumper. I'm loving the yellow and black. It's like the colours of my channel. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good, my friend. How are you doing anyway?
Mate, other than Sky TV, which are trying to ruin my watch along tonight, I'm living the dream. And can you imagine if this went down for the final? I'd be
well, mate, my first thing would be it's a blessing in disguise that you ain't got no Sky, because that means you don't watch Tottenham tonight. So that's a blessing in disguise in my eyes. So there you have it.
Yeah.
I'm looking into the teams. I'm looking into that Man United team that you had up a little while ago. I'm looking at the players' positions, and I'm thinking I'd push Ahmad, further up. I'd push Mount back into the midfield, and then I would have Masraoui. For me, is more of a wing back or a fullback. and not a natural defender. So the first thing I'd be looking at for United, if I was them, would be looking at centre halves in the summer. But that's just me.
Oh yeah, I'll be honest. I think that Ruben Amorim will be looking at this Man United squad and going, I need a goalkeeper, I need centre halves, I need wing backs, I need centre mids, I need strikers. This is why I don't judge him as harshly as I judge Ange. This guy's come in to somebody else's absolute stinky mess, and hasn't got the play. I mean, you think at Sporting Lisbon, he's used to players like Trincao,
Yeah, I know.
Garcares, Gonçalves. He's used to creators, goal scorers. Now he's got Bruno Fernandes and a bunch of kids up front. So that's why I think. But look, tonight's game, Philly, it's an awkward one because what you don't want to do, you don't want to go into this game and just get smashed. You know, we don't, off the back of being dreadful against Palace, you don't want to go into this game and get smashed 5-0. And equally, there are people that need minutes. Sonny needs minutes, right?
Definitely.
I think Romero's going to need some minutes. I don't think you can just not play him for 90 against Palace and 90 against Villa. You're going to have Adogi, I think, needs some minutes. I mean, so what are you expecting from tonight, Philly? Are you expecting Villa to roll us over and tickle our bellies, or are we going to put up a fight?
I'm expecting Villa to win this game convincingly tonight because Villa have more to play for in terms of the match themselves. They need the result to get Champions League. And for Tottenham, yeah, they need to have minutes for the players here because otherwise they're just going to get rusty for the final. Because 10 days, 12 days between the semi-final and the final, players are going to get rusty. And players have just come back from injury as well, which is what we always said. The likes of Van der Ven, they need minutes in their legs. They can't be stretching that amount of time here without getting some form of rusty, or some form of injury when they do go back onto the pitch.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Sorry, I was just somebody saying to me that Glasner wasn't the odds-on favourite, but I'm looking at Odds Checker, and Oliver Glasner is right in there as the favourite. I'm sorry, I'm just checking Oliver Glasner. Yeah, he's the bookie's favourite. Hey, yeah, I mean, look, we know what Villa are like. We know we played them earlier this year in the FA Cup and they completely overrun us. And I've got a feeling they'll do exactly the same thing again tonight, guys. I think Villa will play the same way. They're strong in midfield. They spring on the attack very quickly with the likes of Asensio, Watkins, Ramsey, Rodgers, and I don't think tonight will be any different. And I do think tonight I think it's going to be 4-1. I've got sorry, I know we're not allowed to predict Spurs defeats, but I think this is going to be a real horrible game for Tottenham Hotspur.
It's definitely a game where if it did come up 3-1, 4-1, I don't think anyone would be particularly surprised. But it also depends who shows up on our side as well. Even if it's a second team he puts out there, surely if they wanted to, they could put out a better performance than they did against Palace.
Yeah. I'm worried, Dan. If we play the inverted fullback thing tonight against people like Morgan Rodgers, Ramsey, Asensio and Watkins, it's just going to be game over, isn't it? And again, I'm not going to have the debate about whether these games matter, but I just want to see a little bit of pride. Like, I want to, how can you go into a European final off the back of one league win in 11?
Yeah, but Savva, I'm not going to be nasty and I'm not going to sugarcoat this bit, because if the games meant nothing, right, then the best thing to do would have been to give the likes of Mikey Moore minutes and say, you know what, go out there because the games mean nothing. So just go out there, and go and blood you while the games are working, while the games are meaningless. The games became meaningless, right. When I wrote with the season because I said, you know what, I'm looking at Ange's system. I feel like we're going to lose to Liverpool because it's conducive to the way Liverpool play. They'll just sit back and just take you apart on the counter attack, and the way that we leave very little at the back is just going to be a massacre. I looked at games like Aston Villa, and I said, you know what, in the FA Cup we're going to bounce from that Liverpool defeat and go straight into that game and we're knocked out of that one, and that's exactly what happened. And what I said is I wrote with the season because I said, you know what, to keep Ange, you might as well throw the cups in the bin because he's not going to do anything. We've somehow stunk our way into the Europa League final. Fair play, they got to the Europa League final, but let's not kid ourselves. We stank in that Europa League, dude. But somehow you made the final, right? So now is the time, that I want to see Andrew adapt, bro. I want to see how he handles it, because in life you're always going to get curveballs, and these injuries are curveball. I want to see how he adapts in this game, mate. And there's no excuses for me for this game, because United are poor as it is, and I've just told you they're weak in so many areas. So I just want to see what he does, bro.
I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, go on then. Go on.
With what you said there, Phil, that's basically exactly the way I've looked at it. I haven't got the best way of putting the words across, but like I say, the fact that we didn't get rid of Ange in December, it just made the rest of it. It just made the. I mean, he should have been gone before then, in my opinion. But December, the fact that we didn't get rid of him then, it made the rest of the season irrelevant to me because I've literally predicted what was going to happen. Apart from us getting to the Europa final.
Yeah, but by the way, there's people saying that last year, I think it was last year, Burnley got relegated with 9. I don't know if this is true. People saying he got relegated with 17 losses. This will be loss number 21 tonight. I'll be honest, guys, I cannot wait for this failed experiment to be over. But let's talk about, I feel like it's a really difficult one to have any real in detail nuance for tonight's game, because we don't know what the 11 is going to be. Whatever happens, the excuse is going to be, but it only matters about Wednesday, which whatever. I just don't want to be embarrassed. That's it. I don't want to be embarrassed to the point where we're going, we're throwing games 4-5, 6-0. I just don't want that to happen. But looking at the odds, I'm going to bring up this odds checker. That this is what the bookies have now done. You think this has changed over the time, but you can see here, hopefully that's come up and that's big enough. You can see there that this is odds checker. They got Glasner top. You can get him as low as 2.5 to 1 to take the job. And then after that, the next lowest is Thomas Franks at 7s. Iriola, you can get a 6s, sorry. And then you got Frank at 7. De Zerbi, you can get a 7 as well. Poch is down at 4.5, 4.3 to 1. But for me, I think it's a pipe dream. He's still got a year left with the USA. Glasner, Frank, Iriola, De Zerbi, and Xavi Hernandez. Are you taking any of them if offered to you guys?
I'm taking all of them. Each one of them taking over Ange.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still thought that at the end of the season, I mean, I've said it for a while, I think at the end of the season, Levy already got a plan. I think he's already got a plan now. One thing he has got now is I don't think, when Ange goes, because I'm pretty positive he's gone, I don't think he's going to have nowhere near as many people turn on him that would have, say, 6 months ago or 3 months ago even. I still always thought he had it in the back that if there was any manager he could put down that would silence a lot of fans that are going over to that side, Levy out, whatever, for whatever reason, if all of a sudden Pochettino turns out of nowhere, you're going to see a lot of people that have gone over to that side or were on that side come straight back over onto that side, if you understand what I'm saying.
Of course, yeah.
And it still wouldn't surprise me if Poch just turned up out of nowhere. But with the other managers that started to show and the other options that started to be there, it's looking more unlikely. But I thought that is a card that he's got in his back pocket. I mean, if he's willing to go out and just slam 15 million on the table to get Conte in just to try and rescue a bit, I think he'll go and do the same with Poch. And Poch has already made it clear that he would want to come back here. And if all of a sudden Pochettino turned up out of nowhere, like I said, you would see a hell of a lot of people who have gone over to that side or even are on that side be willing to sit on the fence or go back over to the other side and keep quiet for a bit.
Yeah, but the problem with your theory...
In opinion.
No, the problem with your theory, Dan, is this is the one that takes it away from me. It's Poch is the manager of the United States, and the next World Cup is in the United States. They cannot afford to have unrest right now going to a tournament in their own country, mate. Because like Savva was talking about pride and honour, they're going to have a lot of pride going into that tournament. They can't afford to be having unrest of sacking the manager 1 year before the tournament. So Poch has got to go in there and install something, so that they have a good representation of themselves in that World Cup, mate, in their own country. They have to.
Well, he doesn't have to, though.
No, but he's being paid a lot of money, mate, to make sure.
I'm not disputing that.
Mate.
I'm not disputing that. But if Levy was to all of a sudden slam down a bit of money on the table and say, "There's your contract paid off," or whatever, or whatever way they got to do it with an international player, international manager, I'm not sure. He can quite easily just walk away.
Yeah,
that one comes. Will it happen? Won't it happen? Always buts and maybes. It was just an idea that I had that I could have him pulling off.
Yeah, but then you have to factor Pochettino as well. One thing about Pochettino is he's loyal, mate. One thing about him is that as a person, you can see that once he started something, he wants to see it through. You should have learned that as a manager.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, look, I think the Poch thing. I think the Poch thing is more sentimental than a reality. I think if this year had been the World Cup. It is the World Cup, isn't it? Yeah. I think if is it? Yes. Yeah, I think if this year had been the World Cup instead of next year, I think we might have been saying, look, Poch, once the World Cup finishes, you'd be our manager, but let us know what players you want and blah 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 blah. I think unfortunately for Levy, this kind of the 2 years didn't marry up. But what we certainly can't do for me is have another year where we just wait with Ange and wait for Pochettino, because it will just be the same next year. It might not be 20 league defeats, but it will be the same tactics. It will be the same lack of DM. It will be the same players coming in, him claiming they're good enough. And then when we start losing, the excuses will be terrible. But guys, I sent a clip round on our WhatsApp group this morning. And it was Angepostecoglou saying, basically he was being interviewed and he said, let me get this right. He basically said that, he'll, whatever happens after this game, he'll continue winning elsewhere, even if he leaves Spurs. And I just thought the way he said it, the way it came across, married up with everything he said for the last 2-3 months, I just get the feeling he knows. This is not a man with fighting talk. This is not a man that is fighting tooth and nail. I want to win this. I've got to stay. It just very much feels like I'm gone whatever happens. Is that what you guys read into it?
I think on that bit, yeah. But when it comes to the Europa side, I think the way it looks at the moment is I think he's already accepted that it's game over, basically. I just can't see how anyone would keep him as the manager, basically, for the way the season's gone. But I still think he's got the attitude of, right, it's done with the season. I can't get nowhere with that, whatever, bigger than 14th, 15th, 15th, even if I try. But I'm going to get that Europa, so I can, when I do have to leave or it's agreed that he leaves, whatever way they go and do it, he can sort of walk back and still say, yeah, but I'm still the most successful manager you've had in 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, on paper he will be, but I mean, if listen, in my mind, always in my mind will be, well, yeah, you should have won this trophy, mate, because you've not had to play anyone to get there. But
I agree.
Dan, you're right. On paper, he will be that guy.
Yeah, but let me finish as an ego project as well, because you have to go back to the reporter and remember what he said to her. I always win a trophy in my second season. Well, mate, this is your second season, son. So if you lose that game to Man United, guess what? The reporter won because you didn't win a trophy in your second season.
No, hang on. In Angie's defense, yeah, he did not say, I always win in my second season. When she asked that question, he turned around and said, yes, I have always won in my second season.
Well, this is
the one word. Yeah, but that is the one word that sort of gets him out of that situation just a little bit. Just a little bit. As all he did was basically reply to her and say, yeah, I have always won on my second season. Which the way a lot of us would translate it and anyone else is like, he's putting it down. Like, yeah, I do win on my second season.
He wasn't wrong. Ange, listen, I don't see. I think I have many issues with Ange. You all know that, right? him saying that he wins in his second season when asked if he wins in his second season wasn't one of them. I don't hold that against him. When people go, oh, he always wins. He was asked, well, you always win in your second season, don't you? And he was like, well, yeah, I have. I don't think that was him saying, I will win this year. But
no, it's the wording. It's not the wording, Savva, that annoyed me. It was the way that he done it. It was
it's the attitude, isn't it?
That was the bit that got me. I was like, yo, all right, then you want to act like Billy, yeah? Let's put
you can say bollocks. It's all right. You can say bollocks. Say it again. Not again. Say it again.
Right, if you want to be Billy Big Bollocks, yeah, and you want to throw me down on the table, bro, you know what happens, innit? You have to back it up, brother. You have to back it up.
Look, I agree with you on that front. I think the problem is, and I said this earlier in the season, it was probably me and Dan or me and Stel or someone on a show, said this guy needs, for me, and it's never going to happen because of his age, he needs media training. This guy needs to learn how to answer a question and get out of a media press conference without leaving them the golden nugget for them to go, oh, did you hear what Anne said? And then we all go, oh, did you see what Anne said? Get into your press conference. Say, you know what, guys, forget about whether I'm leaving or not. My focus is winning this Europa League. Everything else is white noise. I'm going to do everything I can. The season's not been good enough. These fans deserve it. I'm doing it for them. You know what? I haven't got anything else to say. Jump out the press conference and we can turn around and go, fair.
Yeah.
Fair. But he doesn't. He belittles us, right? And what I mean is this. He talks like we've never watched football before. He says things like, 20 defeats. Well, if anyone doesn't understand why we've got 20 defeats when playing in Europe. Whoa, hang on. Whoa, Andrew. I've seen Spurs get to European finals without losing 20 games in a season. I'll tell you what, let's have a look. What year did we get to the European final? 2019, right? Champions League, that was. In that season, we only lost 13, right? We got to a Champions League final in that year, right? With players injured. We got to a So this whole, I've lost 20 games. It's those things that he says where I go, you need media training. Because you belittle your own fan base. Oh, if the Spurs fans want to lose against City, I'm changing that winning mentality. Fast forward a year. Well, you know, these games don't really matter. It's all whoa, hang on. Which one is it? hang on. So the Man City game really mattered then, but now these guys.
It's hypocrisy everywhere, Savva. Even in the World Cup, even in the Euros, yeah. Do you remember him slamming Southgate and saying Southgate players out of position? Excuse me, what we doing here? Players out of position. What we doing here, mate?
Yeah,
in the Euros, do you remember, Philly? Honestly, I watched him in the Euros, and again, I can't really get warm. I can't warm to him. He's sitting in the studio in the Euros game. You know, it's really good to see these young players being given an opportunity in their positions. Okay, cool. Any chance we could see that at Spurs? I
remember because we had to talk about that when he actually went and done that, basically, and spoke to a few people about it. I mean, I was quite shocked to see him there in the first place, I must admit. And then when he went and said that, it was like, okay, if you totally agree and it's a massive thing on the young players playing and in the right positions and getting them experience and everything else, well, hang on a minute. I can't say I've seen much of that off of you. When he's bigging it up, saying how right it is to do that, and he's had many an opportunity where he could have done that, and he hasn't. It sort of, it don't make sense. It's contradicted his opinion as such. He's contradicted his own opinion in that aspect, I think.
Yeah. And I think, listen, if we take this back to surface level, and I know, like, people like to use the word agenda a lot. I don't see why I would ever have an agenda against a Tottenham player or manager. Like, I want whoever comes in to be really successful, whether that's a player or a manager. However, as a fan, I will judge them. You know, and by the way, this is the same with the next manager. The next manager comes in, and after a year, we're seeing performances are going backwards. They haven't coached. I will be calling that out. right? This isn't because it's Ange. I called out Conte. I called out Nuno. This is what fans are allowed to do, right, Philly? There's no agenda against him, is there? I don't know why there would be.
A good fan, yeah, balanced fan, yeah, praises the club when it needs to, yeah, and it tells the club off when you have to. Sometimes it's not about what people want to hear, yeah, but it's what they have to hear in the end. And this is the problem with a lot of Spurs fans. It's like, you can't be told the truth here. You want me to give it to you like a baby. I can't give it to you like a baby. I'd rather respect you as a person and say to you, you know what, this is the score and this is what I see and this is what I'm basically wanted to try and help you to understand. Well, watching Tottenham this season has been a drain on everybody. I stopped watching Spurs in October. I said, this is like watching the same, this is like copy and paste. Every single game is the same. I watched us getting split wide open game after game. Spanish Armada settings, man. Teams just going forward and just rushing us. No players closing players down. So many performances. People begging for Archie Gray in the middle. He gave you Archie Gray in the middle against Liverpool. Are you happy now that you got Archie Gray in the middle? This is why I didn't want him staying at Spurs. I want him going on loan, yeah, and learning a position. But no, we have people wanting this. Why? Oh, you're not behind the team. No, I'm behind the team. I just want the best. I want the best for this club. I want them to win. It's time now that they actually put it down and throw a marker and decide to win. Be serious in the window.
Yeah, I always find that funny, the statement, Dan, of get behind the team. Like any fan who has a different opinion, you say, oh, I'll get behind them. Well, what does that mean? Like it's kind of like a nonsensical throwaway comment, isn't it? It's silly.
That's a statement I've made many a time, and it's like the other one I will ask is, what is having an agenda against someone or something? Do explain it to me,
mate. I agree, mate.
Because I look on the word here. I'm looking at it now. Exactly what it means. So it is a list of things to be discussed in a meeting. Now, when you're losing 20 games and your manager is losing consistently, then there's definitely an agenda to talk about, is there not? Is it that you've got the problem with him? An agenda, a program of things that needs to be done or considered, a temporarily organised plan for matters to be attended to. So if someone's saying, how do people actually use the phrase agenda and what do they mean by it? Because what it actually means, like I just said here, a list of things that need to be discussed in a meeting or a chat. When you've gone and had a season like we have, yeah, too right, I've got an agenda with Ange, the players, and the problem, because something needs to be spoke about and sorted out. So how do other people actually mean it? Because the way I see it when people say it, you've got an agenda against someone, makes it sound like you've got an issue with them. Well, I've got an agenda with Ange that there's a situation that needs to be spoken about, that we've lost over 20 games. Does that now mean does that mean I've got a problem with him in particular?
Wasn't with him. Like when he first came in, the agenda isn't, oh my God, this manager's terrible, I'm going to grill him from moment one. No, the agenda is, okay, I've watched you over a number of months now, 5, 6, 7 months. You are not the guy. Now I've got an agenda that you are not changing your tactics. Now I've got an agenda that you are setting us up to fail game in, game out. And do you know what? The Europa League has, we know it's papered over cracks, but it's allowed him to get away. It's allowed him to mask to so many fans that like him of how bad his tactics are. Because if we weren't in a Europa League final and Spurs had played like that at home to Palace in a game, fans would be losing their mind. But don't worry, we're in a final. Don't worry, right? If we'd lost to Wolves away 4-2, 4-3, whatever, I can't even remember what the score was now, we'd be going, this is disgusting. But people are just going, don't worry, in a Europa final. Nottingham Forest at home, don't worry, Europa final. West Ham, awful away performance, don't worry, Europa final.
It's true.
Billy, this Europa League final has allowed his awful management to go under the radar with so many people who've got blinkers on.
And the other 2 cups.
I agree. And I agree. The other 2 cups here, we just threw them in the bin, mate. I told you that from the beginning. From the time we kept him in December, that was the end of that. But it's every game, yeah, we could see the same goal. It's over the top or it's down the middle. And after a while, yeah, you would think that you'd learn. you'd adapt here and you say, you know what, I wouldn't just leave 2 men at the back here against 4 players and 4 players with the opposite team come running at them. I wouldn't do that. But Ange is stubborn, man. I'm sorry. I watched the Liverpool game and even the Chelsea one. We were 2-0 up against Chelsea. I said in that game, we're gonna concede 4. Guess what? We conceded 4. And I said, you know why? Because you're so open, you're so intent on going forward that you've left a whole heap of gaps at the back. And it's the same against Liverpool. And we've done this in multiple games. We've done this. Even against Galatasaray, we did this. So sooner or later, and this is the problem I had with Dan's statement at the beginning, is that you can get yourself to a final. This is why I say it's like England. You can get yourself to a final. But somewhere along the line, you will find somebody better than you. In that route, Man United, we have to remember, have beaten Real Sociedad and Bilbao to get to that final somehow, right? And so they are poor in the league, but they've played themselves into that final by beating some decent opposition to what we have to face.
Leon and Sociedad's better than what we've played.
You know that, right? So they've had to play decent teams to get to that final. Right, so they're going to be up for that final, and then they have players coming back as well. They're going to be well up for that final. Amorim needs that final, because Amorim has a rebuild ahead of him, and if he does it right, I can see them doing some damage in the league, and that's not a lie. And that's the first time since Ferguson I've seen a manager be able to come in and do that, but he needs the players to do it for me. But Ange, I don't want him to win a trophy. I'm sorry. I don't want him mixed in Tottenham's name whatsoever. I don't like him as a manager. I think he's stubborn. I think he's ignorant in interviews. I can't stand him as a manager there and talking to the press and that. I can't stand him. I'm sorry.
I mean,
by the way, just quickly, Reezy, when you're saying Europe has affected other clubs too, I mean, Aston Villa got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League and are level on points with the Champions League teams this year in the league. Arsenal got to the Champions League semi-final. They're currently second in the Premier League. Liverpool,
Chelsea.
Liverpool were in Europe. They're currently, they've just won the league. Chelsea are currently in the Champions League positions. They're in a final of a Conference League. So, no, Reezy, what you mean is it's affected Spurs and Man United. That's what you mean. It's affected Spurs and Man United and no one else, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too simplistic.
I mean, with what you said, Phil, at the end of the day, it's just going to, in its own way, it's going to be the most Spursy thing. I mean, people would say the Spursy thing is you get to the final and completely screw it up. Yes. But in its own way, it would be the most Spursy thing ever that we have our worst Premier League season ever.
And win it.
Officially, by stats and facts, whether people like it or not, we've got the worst manager ever in the Premier League again at Tottenham. We've just got a formation. The whole thing is a complete and utter mess. And then we actually go and do win something with the worst manager we've had, who becomes the most successful manager we've had, and end up in the Champions League and actually win something for once. And finish it. The whole system itself has just got Spursy written all over it. Like the time we actually do go and do it is with, by facts, the worst manager we have had in the Premier League. You know what? If that's how it's got to go, that's how it's got to go. As long as we win, I don't care. And if it gives Ange that little smug look on his face where he walks back with the fingers at everyone, basically screw you, I'm not bothered. I just want Spurs to win. And this is where you go back to what you said with what do you call backing your team and your club? I've asked so many people this question. What is backing someone? What is backing someone you love? What is backing something you love? For me, it is wanting them to win or have success or whatever, or the best for them at all costs. I don't support Angepostecoglou. I never supported Harry Kane or Son FC or Romero FC. I support Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I don't care about what the players, the manager and that get up to off the pitch or whatever, or whether they've been with us 10 years or this and that. As long as they perform on the pitch for what is best for Tottenham is all I care about. That's where, again, I think at Spurs, we are too much of an accepting cling-on club as such, the way we cling on to certain players and everything else. If my daughter goes and does something in life that I think is wrong, I'm not just going to support her for the sake that I love her. I'm going to do the best I can to try and guide her the right way as such.
Yeah.
or do I just blindly get behind her and, you know, get on with your life sort of thing?
No, but it's
I
tough
just have
love,
a different
isn't it, Dan?
opinion to it.
No, it's just tough love, though, isn't it, Dan? And the thing is, yeah, it's tough love, yeah, that I'm not being nasty. It actually builds character, because it's when you fall down, you pick yourself back up again, isn't it? And
Well, that's
people
what you're meant to do.
people take it as a wrong message. They're like, oh, you're just being nasty. I'm not being nasty. I'm trying to say to you, yeah, I'm trying to fire you up another way and saying, you know what, prove him wrong. Prove your doubters wrong. Step up and say, you know what, right, this person doesn't believe in me, but you know what, I'm going to show this person just exactly who I am. And make yourself known, as Mr. Box Office keeps saying, make yourself known. That's all you're asking the players to do. Go and make yourself a star. Like Roy Keane. Roy Keane wasn't blessed with talent, but he built himself into being a good player. He took adversity, yeah, and turned it around and made himself into a player. And the same could be said of Harry Kane, because he was the first one to come to training and the last one to leave. And so many times I've heard that story. So make yourself known. You don't have to be a world-class player. You can make yourself into that if you're willing to put in a dedication. And that's everywhere. And I can't just keep blowing smoke and then you're going to keep up to them levels. Sometimes you need that kick in the ass that you can get up and keep going on, brother.
But that mentality's gone. That mentality's gone. Look how accepting we are now, week in, week out, of just losing games. Like no other club I know, no other club that wants to pretend they're a big club ever says, "Oh yeah, but we're in a final. Don't worry, just keep losing." I've been hearing this for 3 months. Don't worry, just keep losing. Don't worry, this game doesn't matter. It's a free hit. This game's a pass. This game don't matter. Just put out this player. No other club does that. Chelsea would not get away with it, right? No Chelsea manager would get away with doing what Ange's doing, right? No Liverpool manager, no Arsenal manager. No,
Man, you have already started turning on their manager, and he's only been in for 3 months, for God's sake, because it ain't been to the standards they want. Sorry,
you've got Man United fans saying, "Don't care if we win the Europa League. This guy's got to go." He's had one signing. But we're sitting there as a fan. Look how many people earlier in the show when I said, "What do you reckon is going to happen with Villa?" It doesn't matter. This game's done. Well, it matters to me. It should matter. These boys are paid very, very well. These boys are professionals. You know, it should matter to people like Son, who should come in to get some minutes in his legs and get match fit. Should matter. It should matter.
Surely he's got to start tonight. Surely he's got to.
Got to.
Because if he doesn't start tonight, or at least play 30, 40 minutes, and then we go and start him on in the final, I think that's just made exactly the same sort of mistake as it has done with when we started Kane.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of it, you look at the options we do have there. You can't exactly say Tell Odeberta performed on the left either.
No, I agree. I just want to see. I want to see that somebody, one of the leaders in the dressing room tonight at Villa Park, says, "Guys, we're in a final in 5 days. Right? Let's go out there and give a good account of ourselves. Let's be first to every tackle." We got fans going, "Yeah, but no more injuries." I hate to break it to people, and I was thinking about this earlier today, right? We're getting injuries whether we're playing games of football or not. Right? We're hearing, "Oh, so-and-so got injured in training today. So-and-so got injured in training today. So-and-so's picked up a knock today." It doesn't matter. Players can get injured getting out the bath. Players can get injured walking down the stairs. Right? Players can get injured. Right?
I have another perspective. Do you remember? Big up Nick here, because he said it the other day, and it's a brilliant one. Yeah, I remember growing up here. There was a guy that a player that got injured picking up a remote control at home. So what we're doing here? Well, I'm sorry, but you can get injured anywhere. Even picking up a remote control for your TV just to switch it over from another Sky channel, you can get an injury. So you can't wrap players in the cotton wool. They need to have their minutes in their legs. And games like tonight, yeah, they might not mean anything as in context of the league, but in terms of players' fitness and building it up when the players have been out, they need this kind of game. So they need to go and make a representation of themselves in some way tonight to throw down a marker. And the players who are playing into the 11 for the final, they need to make a marker and say, well, manager, look, this is what I can add just in case you need other options on the bench. This is what I can do. Unfortunately, we have a fan base that don't even look at that.
No, look, I agree. Look, all I'm saying is, I don't think I don't think with a lot of footballers you can just switch it on and off as you like. Now, if you are Man City when they're in their prime, Man City can switch it on and off when they like, right? Because they've got the quality of players, they're well drilled, right? Spurs aren't that good. We can't just go, don't worry about today. Wednesday, we're switching it on. We've seen that all season. We can't just switch it on. We can't. So for me, I want to go out tonight. I'm not saying it doesn't have to be a full strength 11, guys, before I'm misquoted like I have been in other people's chats. But I do want to see some minutes in some of these players' legs. Otherwise, you're going into that final. You've had 12 days, 13 days, whatever it will be. And you're going, well, he's not played for 2 weeks. That guy's not played for 2 weeks. And then when they pull up injured, we'll go, oh, well, yeah, you got more chance of getting injured if you are not playing games. You need to play. The body likes repetition. That's what it likes. It likes repetition. But
I can see the point on, say, the last game, for instance, that he goes and puts out 3/4 of the team, saves a couple of players, messes about with it, whatever. It'd be more like in today that if he played the sort of team that we did in our last game, I could be more understanding of it. Because, yeah, sometimes I personally think sometimes some of the players you do have to wrap them up a bit. But it doesn't mean they've got to go missing for 2 games, or it doesn't mean that they have to play for the 90 minutes or whatever, just getting some game time in there. So if he would have gone and basically put out the last team he put out now, I would be a lot more understanding of it than when he did it in the last game as such. But then if his attitude is these games generally don't matter, whatever, I mean, to me, like I said, the whole thing's been irrelevant for ages. What should and shouldn't be are 2 different things. Then why didn't he just place the young players in there when he's had many a chance to do it and everything else as well? It's just a lot of it doesn't add up together. Yeah. It's like I keep saying, when I keep using the word, it is irrelevant, because to an extent it is. It shouldn't be, but when you go realistically on how people think in general, whatever, whether they're a world-class, well, I won't say a world-class player, but whether they're a professional football player, should have this attitude, shouldn't have this attitude, whatever. On a realistic side, they are only human. And other people saying that in the last game, where it was basically, some would say, our B team out there as such, they should have been putting 10 times more effort in to get noticed than that. But we all agreed with it after, and they all knew it as well, that even if they would have had the best game of their life for the next 2 games, they still probably wouldn't even got into the final. Yeah, so on a realistic attitude of a human being, not a footballer, you can sort of half get, not make it right or justify it, but you can almost get why they wouldn't go out there and give 110%.
I agree.
It's the backing on from your point there. You're spot on, because let's be fair. Since Jed Spence came in, was given a run of games because the Udogie was out, and was arguably our best player for 2-3 months. Right? We all said, will he, won't he? Will he, won't he stay in the team when Udogie's fit? The first game Udogie's fit, Jed Spence was out. I think it was, remember, against Man City, the first big game, Man City, Jed Spence is out. Now, when you watch Jed Spence play, the guy looks completely switched off. He looks like, well, what was the point? I came in, I played well,
his head ain't there.
And this guy has gone straight back in.
Yeah, but Savva, this is worse. That Jed Spence one is worse, because Andrew actually said it to you in an interview before he did that he was going to do exactly that. He said, once Udogie is fit, I'm going to, all right, Spence will no longer be in the team. So once your manager's come out and said that to you, what else would you expect there once Udogie was fit? Spence was always going to find his way out, which is why I didn't buy into all of that rubbish. I said, nah, man, I know already this manager already. Where's Ajayi? Ajayi scores against Elfsborg in the Europa League. Yeah. Do you know what his reward was for scoring a goal? Never to be seen again, brother. Not even on loan. Never seen again, bro. But what kind of reward is that for a young player to score a goal in a Euros game, and never be seen again, man? You're back on the bench, but you're not even used on the bench. You're not even seen, bro. That's his reward.
You think 2 games ago we're playing against West Ham in a game that doesn't matter, right? He's got 5 subs to use. He makes 1, and Ajayi's on the bench. What on earth would have been the problem of going at half time? Do you know what, Ajayi? Warm up, son. You're going on for 45 minutes, right? Against Palace at the weekend, if you're going to throw it, if we're going to go, these games don't matter,
Yeah.
Why is a JE not on the bench? Why is it all the first team players on the bench? Right? If tonight doesn't matter, Moore left, a JE right, whoever else, I don't know, Ashley Phillips must be back from Stoke City now. Ashley Phillips at centre half, sod it. If it doesn't matter, show me it doesn't matter. But don't give me a half-hearted, some of the first team, some are not, but the bench is full of the first team. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but where's Reggie, man? We said in December, where's Reggie all of a sudden? Reggie's disappeared as well. Which is another one that we're having to send out smoke signal to look for because he's disappeared from the squad. So even now you could rest a Doshi and play an actual left back in that position. He's not the greatest, but you can still play him in that position. No, he's disappeared as well. So it's madness, bro. There is nothing. I'm looking at and thinking, what on earth are we actually doing?
Yeah. So with what I said, I agree with everything that everyone has always said back at me, that everything should matter and every game should matter. But we know there's a lot of things in life that should, but it just don't work like that. And again, on the mentality side, how can you blame? And I mean, look at Spence. He didn't even get picked in the Europa team, for God's sake. And then Ange comes out and just literally has the point that he even puts bloody Archie Gray in right back instead of a right back we have, who is a proper right back, whatever. And then he performs the way he does, and then literally gets dropped for a Doji who has had a terrible season, bar one game or two. If you want to put it as a season, he's had an awful season, just like the majority of the players. But Spence actually comes on, stands out, looks good, is our best player for probably 2 months, and then he's dropped like that. So how's any other player going to look at that on the mental side? And if your head and heart ain't 100% with it, how can someone give 100, 110% to a game? Whether they should do it, yes, they should. But whether they can do it is a different story. We all know things work different. I mean, so what sort of faith are you going to have? Like, well, whether we win this game or not, we ain't getting relegated. We're only going to finish 15th if we're lucky anyway. If we win, if I absolutely have the best performance of my life in the next 2 games, I still ain't seeing that game that matters at the end of the day. How can you even expect them to be able to give 110%? Whether they should or shouldn't isn't the point I'm making. I'm just trying to be realistically on how someone's head works.
No, I agree.
Go off, Billy. Last thing, because I do want to end the show.
Do you know what, Dan? Yeah, it's coming on from your last bit. Yeah, I would be disappointed as a fan. Yeah, if Jez Spencer had a transfer request in the summer, I'd be very disappointed in the way that Spurs have acted towards him and the way Angepostecoglou has been towards him. If Ange was to stay, yeah, I'd be very disappointed. Yeah, if Spencer going to leave his office and say, "Look, I want a transfer," because what incentive do you have to perform when you're just going to be dropped once the players are fit? And the same with any other player in that squad. What kind of message is that send? Even Savva's favourite, Madison, I'd be disappointed if he didn't hand in a transfer request in the summer and said, "Mate, look, I'm not being played in my position. You're asking me to drop back into being a quarterback when I'm actually a cam. I'm actually just a basic number 10. Just give me the ball up front and let me just work in spaces here and pass the ball through to the players." All right. No, I'd be handing in a transfer request. I don't want to play for you because you've been marketed me as an Ange Postecoglou player, but look at the system; it doesn't fit around me. So again, he wasn't an Ange Postecoglou player, and this is the same.
He was trying to kick him out at the start of the season anyway, and if he would have sold him, we was all saying, "Yeah, sell him as well," because we never see him on the bloody pitch anyway. And then all of a sudden he does play and start playing well, and then Ange comes out with, "Yeah, me and Spence have been speaking enough, and I've been getting him ready for this." Bollocks.
Yeah. Look, guys, I am going to leave it there. We will be back later this evening, 6 p.m. As long as my Sky works, because even Peacock, my streaming, and is not showing the Villa Spurs game tonight, which is really frustrating. Anyway,
with Sky quickly, have you tried using Sky through your phone?
Yeah, I've tried Sky on the phone, on mobile, on tablet. That my Sky server is down. Problem is though, when you watch Sky through your phone or your tablet, you're like 2 minutes behind on Sky Go.
Yeah.
I hate being 2 minutes behind. Listen, big up to Arsenal, just a spicy Spurs. Big up to you, my man, who's become a YouTube member. Welcome. welcome. You're always very generous. And to prove that point, there you go. Another super sticker. So thank you very much to you. Listen, everyone, really enjoyed the show today. Really big thank you to Manny, who came on and did over an hour with me. Big thank you to Philly and Dan. Please go and subscribe.
2 seconds, have 1 minute. I want to invite this man here next to me, Mr. Game of Thrones, and the ringtone, because that is a brilliant ringtone, by the way, Danny. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, Watch is actually brilliant, by the way. He's brilliant. And Savva, yeah, Mr. Superman and Lois. Danny's a geek. Yeah, but we know that you were Superman and Lois, Savva, so...
You know what?
Right.
Quickly on that, I showed...
I'm trying to end the show. I've got to go. I've got to go. We're talking about fucking Superman and Lois. Yes, I will come on your show. Yes, I will come on your show. Dan will come on your show as well. Listen, everybody, thank you very much. We'll see you tonight at 6 p.m. for all the build-up. A 7:30 kickoff tonight. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your sunny day. And as always, come on, you Spurs. Oh, by the way, I'm sending you over to Jim and Kate at a perfect match. Please, when you get over there, just say Savva Raid, smash the like, subscribe, and show them some love. Thank you.